Testing 1, 2, 3. Sound check. Anyone in chat, type 1 if you hear the sound. Five, four, three. Hey everyone, welcome to a belated episode of the Ash and Bats show. I had some major freaking problems yesterday with my PC, so we just literally could not run anything. And my apologies to anyone who came and attended and waited around. My sincere apologies. I do not like to waste anyone's time. I am here with my witty co-host Sergeant Bats. How you doing tonight, Bats?
Doing well. How about you?
I am doing much better now that my computer is running. I was getting really worried. So, nice to see you guys join us for our belated show. It was short notice, and I wasn't even sure I was going to be able to get running tonight. Tahalim, shout out. Who else is with us? Melissa Harris is with us. That's all right now. Hopefully our boy Comics Course will show up, aka a resident Jimmy Olsen. If you guys haven't been checking out his channel, he's been doing a lot more videos lately. He's done some funny Bendis videos, and don't be too hard on him. We all like him. What's going on with you, Batch? You sound tired.
Yeah, I just popped open a yerba mate.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Did you tell me, does that keep hair from growing on your chest?
No, I just can't grow any regardless, so I might as well just keep drinking this stuff.
Oh boy. I am drinking. I was going to take a picture of it, man. I'm drinking a Bang energy drink, and they had a flavor called Star Blast, and it was like in the Captain Marvel colors. And I was like, I'm gonna get this for the honor of Captain Marvel being in theaters, breaking records, shattering all expectations,
All the glass ceilings.
all the glass. There is no more glass ceilings now because Captain Marvel is among us, and it's literally just blown the box office to pieces at $153 million this weekend. What do you think about that?
I call shenanigans personally.
Mm.
I think Marvel is buying tickets.
Do you think they're buying tickets? Well, they did have a lot of fundraisers to buy tickets.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they did some GoFundMe's so that they could make sure to raise money for impoverished girls across the country. Not boys, not boys. Only girls because, you know, fuck boys. I mean, jeez, right? So they could all go see this movie, at Disney, which we need to prop up because Disney does so much good for this country and this world, and if poor people can't afford to buy their tickets, well, what are we gonna do?
Well, what are you going to do?
I don't know.
I know I am not going to see Captain Marvel. And yeah, when I do eventually watch the entire run of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I am going to skip number 20 and go 19 to 21.
Oh boy. No, I'm gonna see it because
You almost saw it, right?
as much as I don't think it's gonna be good, I don't expect it to be good, and a part of me doesn't really want it to be good at this point. The other, I'm a Marvel fan, and I don't like to judge things that I haven't seen or read or whatever. And it's one of my pet peeves when other people do that. So I don't really want to be a hypocrite. So I want to see it, give it a fair shake, and we'll see. But what I've been hearing about it so far has not been good. What I find interesting is that when the review embargo lifted, but before the movie was actually fully released, it was getting like an 80 something percent on Rotten Tomatoes and all this stuff. And then since the movie's been out, those reviews have been dropping that percentage, which tells me. Are you familiar with the term access media?
I am.
All right. Well, for those of the people in the audience who aren't familiar with access media is essentially it's bought and paid for shill media, and they don't literally get like paychecks. It's not like Disney says, "Here's money, give us a good review." What they do is they have people like me and Bats, and we're like, we want to be YouTubers. And wow, wouldn't it be really great if we could go to the premiere of Captain Marvel like weeks early and then tell all our fans and get all these hits and get real popular and make our channel grow because we had this insider access? Well, Disney can make it happen. However, if we say anything bad, they might not give us the tickets. So we got to keep making sure we say nice things all the time, kissing their ass. That's what access media is. It's sort of like access, the good reviews in trade for access. So it's like they get around the bribery by not actually taking any direct funds, but they make money on the back end because of the special treatment they get. And you can tell that the access media are shills because when the people that got to see the movie early all give the movie better reviews than the movie people who had to actually pay for the tickets and see it after it came out, there's something wrong.
Yeah, I love the fact that there are people saying like, well, I can't give it a bad review because then the incels win.
Right.
And it's just like, and then some other reporters have admitted to playing softball because
I heard about that.
yeah, it's just like it's so stupid. Like you have no integrity as a critic or reviewer or whatever you want to be called at this point if you don't have an honest opinion. You can't be trusted. You are what they call fake news.
Fake news. Sounds like I've heard that somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere. I'm not sure who said it. Someone, I don't know. Someone does something important somewhere. I don't know. President of something. I don't know.
President of something. That's funny. Oh man. Looks like we got a pretty active chat for so few people. Eric Breen is with us. He says he wants a Badger movie. How awesome would that be?
Well, as long as Brie Larson's involved, not involved, I think it'll be okay.
Oh, so you two are Badger fans. You guys and anyone else, who do you think would be a good cast? Who would you cast as the Badger?
I want to say, I mean, part of me says, look, he's got to be hella buff and he's got to know martial arts.
Okay.
But you can also get away with like stunt dudes and.
Do you think Bradley Cooper would make an interesting Badger?
Maybe. I think this is gonna sound wacky, but the Badger is wacky.
Yeah.
Owen Wilson, like 15 years ago.
Okay.
Would
Owen
have been
Wilson's
perfect.
kind of goofy though.
Well, so is Badger.
Is he? Okay. He
Yeah.
kind of seemed more like crazy, like.
No, yeah, it's like imagine a comedian playing this straight man.
He seemed like Jack Nicholson type crazy, not goofball crazy. But I don't know very much about him.
Well, wait till so wait till I do. I'll probably do it tomorrow. My review on number 4. There's a page where I just start laughing so hard because it's so ridiculous. You'll know it when I get there, but I don't want to spoil something I haven't done yet. So. But yeah, it's like it's pretty wacky. I think if like Owen Wilson could play a straight guy, I mean not like like play the straight man, he would do a good job. But as in like modern actors, I don't know. I don't know who could do it. Bradley Cooper might be good.
I don't know much about him. I've just gone from what I've seen you show on the page and stuff. And
Yeah.
I've just seen him in a couple of movies where he's kind of. What was that movie that I saw that he did? It was like in the 70s. And it was kind of like a crime movie. Anyways, I don't know. And Breen's not paying attention, so we'll just move on from this one.
There's there's someone in the chat I do not recognize that you said go to bed.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh boy.
Smiley sad face.
Miley sad face. Yeah, it is someone whose bedtime is past.
This is why you don't give children cell phones.
It's not a cell phone.
Ah.
Anyways, you came up with a really cool topic. We were talking yesterday when I was having my massive technical difficulties, and I thought I would share that with our audience here. So we were talking about Godzilla, and we were joking around, and I made some sort of comment about it, and then I don't know how it all came together, but we just sort of collaborated, and it all worked out that it was basically what would SJWs do to Godzilla? Because Bats is a big. Let's see if I can get this right. Tokusatsu. Did I get that right? Fan, which is it's the craft or the art form of. See if I get this right too. Filmmaking that that the Japanese do that everyone's kind of familiar with, where people in suits represent giant beings. Is that right?
Yeah, it's tokusatsu just translates to special effects.
Okay, but it's that type of special effect,
Yeah,
right?
so basically your Godzilla is like kaiju tokusatsu.
Like Ultraman,
Yeah, and
Power Rangers.
Ultraman is a combination of henshin, which means transforming. So your Ultramans, your Super Sentai, aka Power Rangers in America, your Kamen Riders. So anything where like there's a transforming hero or a giant monster is
Right.
that genre.
Okay, so we were talking about that, and Bad's a big fan. So I was like, what if? And I was thinking about comics, and I was like, how the SJWs have really radicalized the comic book industry and doing things like making Thor a woman and making Iron Man a little girl and all these different things. Like, what would they do with Godzilla? And then Bat's got the idea to like start a Twitter thing and get people to throw in their suggestions. And then before the show, I was thinking, why don't we turn this into like a topic? Um, hashtag what would SJWs do? Like maybe every week we can think of something to apply. Like so this week we'll talk about Godzilla and how would
I like it.
Godzilla be affected. Um, and if anyone has any ideas, feel free to throw them up on Twitter. I think it's just funny to think about what they might do.
So would that be hashtag WWSJWD?
Oh, I just spelled it all out. What would SJWs do?
But as a hashtag, like what would Jesus do? But what would SJWs do?
I just typed it out like that in the chat. Otherwise, people aren't going to know. Our hashtag's not that popular. Like 2 people now know about it.
Well, we got to get it going.
We do. So this week's geez, I can't even talk straight. We're off. Everything is off, man. You know that I did not even know that.
I told you yesterday.
Yeah, you told me. I didn't even know it was a time change. I like woke up Sunday and stuff, and I'm like, huh, things are weird. And then Bats is like, what are the time changes? Like, what? What? I didn't know. All my clocks are automated, so I don't even I don't think about it. This week though, our show is about Immortal Iron Fist, and yeah, Bats decided he was going to pick out a Marvel book. Did anyone read this book this week? Did you guys do your homework?
There's going to be a quiz.
There's going to be a quiz at the end. We will all be graded.
But it's a bell curve, so as long as one person gets an A, everyone gets a C.
If one person gets an A, everyone gets a C.
That's how a bell curve works, right?
Something like that. There's always someone gets an F, though. That's what sucks. No matter how good you do, someone's getting an F.
It sounds like socialism.
No. Socialism is when everyone gets a C, except for the people in charge, and they all get mansions.
No, it would be like if you're a socialist, say you're a socialist teacher, and then Ash gets an A, but Bats gets an F. Well, then we both get C's.
Yeah, that's kind of how it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Eric Breen says, already fessed up that I didn't. Guess I'm getting the F this week. Oh, Eric. I used to be able to count on Eric.
Eric gets a B for Badger, though.
What when you can't rely on Eric, I just feel like the world.
I feel like Eric read this book 12 years ago when it came out.
I'm sure he did. He doesn't need to read the books.
He's like, you kids in your ComiXology. Like,
oh, you guys are reading that now? I've already read it.
It's like, you kids with your ComiXology. I read this in actual comics.
What I read this when it was on newsprint. Oh boy.
I read this in a Sunday paper.
Melissa says that SJWs are planning to make a woke Gundam film from Legendary Pictures. That they're gonna ruin Gundam.
I mean, it's not going to take much.
Can you ruin Gundam? Really? Like,
I mean, the best part about Gundam is building the models, not watching the show.
well, and there's just so much Gundam. Like, so much Gundam. And there's bad Gundam. Like, I just feel like at this point, it's like pissing in the ocean. It's not really gonna do much. Like, sure, there's some piss in the ocean now. Like,
Yeah.
it, Gundam's just too big. Like, I don't think you can really ruin it.
I was talking with a buddy of mine because he's like, we saw the Pokemon trailer in theaters, and he's like, man, wouldn't it be awesome if they made a Dragon Ball Z movie? I'm like, yeah, they did, and I don't ever want to think about that again. And I was like, what makes this Pokemon Detective Pikachu work is not taking the actual story of Pokemon and just setting it in the world.
Hey, you know what though? I gotta say, I was prejudiced against Pokemon for solid 20 years. Like, I used to hate Pokemon for no real good reason. And then I found myself, I'm not going to go into details of how I got around that, but found myself giving Pokemon a chance. And I got to say, if you ever, like, explored the original Pokemon, like, stories, not the cartoon that they did with Ash Ketchum, but, like, with Red, that's the whole story of, I forget the different Pokemons, but it was pretty good. And you can.
Are you talking about the animated film that came out a few years ago, or the?
Yeah, they made an animated film about it, which essentially was telling the story that you played in the very first Pokemon game. Because you play Red, I guess, in that game, which I never did. But, so yeah, I saw that animated movie, and I was like, this is pretty good. There's like a real story here, and it's not goofball and silly, and so yeah, I was quite surprised. And Pokemon is perfectly fine for like preteen kids. Like, I used to be really hard on it, and I realized, like, yeah, kids can have things.
Kids can enjoy things too, Ash.
Yeah, a bad Ash.
But what I was saying is that, like, we're talking, and I was like, what makes it work is that it's set in the world of Pokemon. So you can't really make a movie about Dragon Ball without having Goku. But you can take an anime, and I was just like, I don't know, Gundam, and set it in the world of Gundam and tell any Gundam story. So if they're gonna make like a woke SJW Gundam thing, like, I'm not really opposed to it. I'm like, oh, like, really, all I'm going in there for is, like, is there gonna be giant robots? Yes. Are they gonna be in space? Yes. Are they gonna fight each other? Yes. Oh, okay, I'm good. Like,
I don't see how this Gundam movie is gonna work. Gundam has such a unique visual style that is really already, like, super dated. Like, back in the 80s, those mechs looked awesome.
yeah, they look like samurais. I'm looking at one right now.
Now they look like 80s Japanese toys. Like, they just do not look in the 21st century. They just do not look cool the way they once did. And you do the live action and you make it true to the visual styling of Gundam, I think it's going to look even more ridiculous. The other thing that they might do is go, well, we realize this, so we're going to redesign Gundam. And that would be a horror show too. Like, you can't do that either. So I feel like there's a no-win situation with Gundam if you do it a live action. I don't know. I don't know. I just don't even care about this film. Even if they were like, oh yeah, we're gonna do it straight, no SJW, I'd be like, I just don't think this is a good idea.
Here, check out. See, I built this one the other day, and I think he looks badass. But
switch you over here.
Trying to find the camera. There it is.
All right. And let me blow you up. So you built that one?
Yeah. This is from the Gundam Wing from my teenage years. This is the Death Scythe from the Gundam Wing movie called Endless Waltz. And so you could see he has a bat motif going on.
Yeah, it's pretty badass.
Yeah,
is it all like, it's hard to tell in the visuals, like, but it looks like it's like blacks and grays with some yellow highlights.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, no, I see. I know what Batman looks like. I just was making sure I was making that connection.
Yeah, so I have him on my desk here with my other Batman desk buddies and my Tom King page.
Your Tom King page. Nice. Eric Breen says that he was asking if he's the only one that can barely hear me. So I guess my mic was bad. I turned it up a little bit. You guys let me know if our audio is not good, and I'll play with it in the background. Yeah, I like that. I like that Gundam. I like how you made it all batsy.
Well, that's how he comes, like, you know.
Is that like, oh, you didn't paint him? That's
no, yeah, that's the character.
What do you mean?
He comes pre painted.
Oh, is he supposed to be like a Batman reference, or what? Am I missing something?
His name is Death Scythe, so he's like supposed to be like a Grim Reaper.
So it's just coincidental that he's got the Batman.
I think there's some influence in there from Japan, but I mean, I originally went there to buy a different Gundam named Heavy Arms, where he's got like his chest plates open up into machine guns, and he's got a big machine gun on his shoulders as well. But Death Scythe was my second favorite because of his visual design. But I preferred the Heavy Arms because the character, the pilot, was like the silent Billy Badass guy, and his Gundam was like full of machine guns.
I just read Tehalim's comment in the chat. Something seriously wrong with Ash. I think he needs to see a doctor for his deformity. And I'm like, what the hell? Why is he saying that shit to me? And then I saw the comment above it. I was like, oh, he's talking about Ash Ketchum. I was like, what the hell, man? Yes, but I should see a doctor about my deformity. You're right.
What deformity? I'm so confused.
Did you read the text above it? Follow along, Bats.
Oh, okay.
Oh man. All right. Well, I think we covered all the who's been Watson going on.
SJW Gundam will be just fine.
You know what? All right, here's the cool thing I want to. What animes do you think would be a good movie? I would love to see a well done, respectful to the source material, and a quality made Robotech film. I think that would be epic, a space epic of that nature. The Earth, having to flee Earth and the SDF-1 and fighting the Zentradi. Rick Hunter having to learn how to be a pilot. Oh, I think you could have a badass film. What do you think? Any animes out there that you would just be like, oh,
there's
this would be amazing?
That I've been wanting, but I'm like afraid for them to make it, and they keep saying they keep threatening the idea. Is Akira? They've been threatening that for.
Oh, you said it the weeb way. It's Akira.
Yeah, Akira.
I gotta
They
go hit my head against a wall.
they've been threatening Akira. They've been threatening it for 20 years. I think that would be cool. I know they're coming out with the Cowboy Bebop one, so
Yeah, that's like a
that,
Netflix thing, isn't it?
yeah, that's what scares me. But
Could be really good, could be complete garbage.
yeah. But you know what I would really like to see is a live action film would be either like Ninja Scroll
Hmm.
or Vampire Hunter D.
Not a vampire. Ninja Scroll is like an old school favorite for me. I just feel like if you made that as a film, it would just be like a ninja movie. Like it wouldn't. I don't think it would bring anime to the screen like the way Alita did. It was like, here's something you've never seen really before that the Japanese are doing like all the time. We're gonna bring it to a Western audience in a live action film and let you see the imagination of what the Japanese were doing, in the 80s and 90s, and like,
I also kind of throw out ideas of things that I wouldn't be mad if they ruined it.
you wouldn't be mad if they ruined Ninja Scroll.
It wouldn't affect me as much as it did. Like
you're just like, yeah, I'm gonna name all the shitty ones I don't care about.
Like, I liked Vampire Hunter D, but I absolutely love Trigun. So I was like, at first I thought Trigun, and I was like, no, I'm gonna go for someone else in a red coat.
I try to think of things like Robotech's not like my favorite anime, right? But I try to think of like what would be the coolest to see done in a live action format that is something that Western filmmakers aren't doing really cool. Like, because there's, my favorite animes, I gotta tell you, I'm a huge Miyazaki person. I just don't really care. I don't think you could do his films live action. So I don't even consider it really, But seeing Veritech fighters and those massive space battles and it would just be eye candy, and plus Robotech had heart, the fleeing humans and trying to survive. It was.
To Helium 29 says, how about Rama and a half?
No,
because not in today's time. That would be an absolute shit show.
Their gender politics. Yeah, that would be.
That was like edgy and neat idea 30 years ago, but now it's like that's real life.
Yeah, I would no. Nope. Did I say nope enough times? Project ACO. God, you guys are bringing out the old school. Hey, Comics Quirks, we were just talking about you behind your back. Was your ears bleeding? Burning? I think the correct.
In Japan, you sneeze.
You sneeze?
Yeah, like, in the West, we say, oh, were your ears burning? But in Japan, when you sneeze, that means someone was talking about you.
Man, Telim is bringing out the old school. Man, Project ACO. I was watching that back in the days when I was telling you about the anime clubs I was in and you were making fun of me, Bets.
Yeah.
That was like in the 80s. The very first Project ACO, what are they called? OAV. I thought was really cool. And then everything afterwards just felt like they were trying to milk a cash cow.
My friend and I, we were talking, my friend who did my avatar, we were talking about like what's the next after superheroes go away with the westerns. What's the next thing? And I had told him, my guess is we're gonna go along the lines back to the giant monsters and stuff essentially from the eastern side. Alita's doing really well. Anime is now kind of mainstream more than it's ever been.
Here's the thing, though. Alita is a superhero film.
it's also like a YA film. Like people who enjoyed the Hunger Games could also enjoy Alita.
Well, just because the same audience likes something doesn't make it the same category. I would not classify Alita as YA.
Oh, our boy Zach did, and I was like, he's kind of right.
Like, Zach is an expert. Zach, the guy who's never read a manga in his life. He had people like give him money to buy copies of Berserk, and he still hasn't done it. Well, actually, no, he finally did. He finally did. That's
yeah.
right.
What
He
would
finally did.
you?
It took him like a year. He finally did. And then he read My Hero Academia and gave it a bad review. And I was just like, fucking Zach. I love you, Zach, but sometimes I just shake my head. It's like, what?
I think we're gonna go in a path of kind of pulling influence more from the East.
I hope so. I hope so. I think the East is what's given us a lot of our great things, like Star Wars. I mean, I think one of the reasons Star Wars is so great is because of the Eastern influences that Lucas pulled for that film. And I think if Disney,
Darth Vader looked like a freaking samurai.
Oh, for sure, right? The Jedi were totally like samurai. But just the story of the hero's journey is very, in the whole mythos of Jedi and Sith, it was very, very Eastern oriented. And it's funny because, like, I see, if you watch a lot of anime is a good thing. Like I'm watching, my buddy is a huge, huge fan of the Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. He's like, you gotta watch this. This is the greatest thing, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, all right. I'm watching through, and I'm like, I'm not quite as hip on it as he is, but I'm enjoying it. It's really well done. And every time I'm watching it, I'm like, this is how they need to do Star Wars. Oh my God. I'm like, the whole time, like, they need to hire some of these Eastern writers, that are writing these animes, because they understand, like, heroes' journeys and turning to the dark side and, how to do villains and character growth and all this stuff. And, like, Disney, I think one of the big things that Disney's losing it is they don't have that same view of storytelling that Lucas had, and it's just now that's just really Hollywoodized. It's really sterile, and yeah,
they got to check all their boxes and make sure everyone gets a slice of pie.
Yeah, Tehillim, Full Metal Alchemist is good. Check out Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, not Full Metal Alchemist. Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is like a remake that goes beyond the story.
It's more accurate to the manga.
Yeah, and it goes beyond, like, the Full Metal Alchemist end where it ends. Like, there's more story to go. So Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood tells that story.
I never got into Brotherhood because I watched the original and I didn't finish it because I couldn't take it anymore.
Oh, it's
so
bleak. It's like, the hard parts is it gets bleak. There's parts where it's like, oh, geez, it's like, come on, I need some, like, I don't know, something good to happen. There's so much, but if you can handle that, if you're not opposed, it has really good payoffs, and there's a really rich, developed plot line that they slowly, like, leak out as the story goes on. Like, these characters have adventures all over the land, but this underlying plot is slowly revealing, and as it gets out, you're just like, oh my god, no way, oh my god. And they do the quality thing that I enjoy in anime, where they slowly introduce all these different characters, and then they're all a really wild bunch, and, like, very interesting and diverse personalities, and I don't know how to really describe it without sounding hokey.
Melissa Harris says live action Bleach. It's on Netflix. It already made it. She also says live action Cyborg 009. I would totally be down for that.
I've never seen that. I don't know anything
Cyborg
about it.
009 is the same creator as Kamen Rider and Super Sentai and Kakaider. He pretty much created...
I don't know any of those.
Super Sentai is Power Rangers in Japan.
Oh.
But Cyborg 009 is it's kind of like a space opera where these 9 cyborgs, you know, go on adventures with like a spaceship and stuff.
Huh.
And it's kind of prototype Power Rangers where they have like a mech and what have you, but they all have like, matching uniforms and such. And all the characters have that old school Astro Boy vibe to them because does he say his name Shoto Inarusho or something? The guy who created Cyborg 009, he was a protege of the guy who created Astro Boy.
Interesting.
That's also what a big thing that I really like about Japan and their comics culture is that everyone's like people who make it kind of were proteges to someone else, and so it's like, you're in the cool kids club and you're taught how to make, you start off as like, because in Japan manga's produced weekly, and so they have a main artist, and then there's like he has his team who ink it and letter it and fill in the backgrounds or the speed lines and all that kind of stuff, so they can put out more product. And so people are, like, oh yeah, he was the guy who inked the book for X amount of time, and now he's doing this. And so you go under someone's wing, and you're like a tattoo apprentice.
Right.
You work in the shop and do all the grunt work for like a year before they even let you like touch a machine.
Yeah, I got to take a U-turn here real quick. I've been reading the chat, and I saw earlier Melissa made a comment that stuck out to me. She says, kick it old school and make live-action Astro Boy or Gigantor or Johnny Sacco and his flying fucking robot. Oh, yes. High five, Melissa. Johnny Sacco and his giant robot. You need to go find. Or maybe I need to find it for you so you can watch. That is old school, like black and white 50s.
You know what it is.
You know what it is?
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen it?
Well, Tokusatsu.
Yes. Yes, it is. And I loved Johnny Sacco and his flying robot. And my favorite, Melissa, just a piece of trivia here. My favorite anime of all time is Giant Robo, which was a anime reimagining of Johnny Sacco and his flying robot, but done way freaking cool and serious. And you haven't seen that, have you, Bats?
I haven't. No, I'm
Oh
looking
man,
at
I wish I could send you. I wish I. It is. It's astounding. It is my favorite anime of all time. Is it? I don't know if anyone else. Melissa, if you haven't seen that, though. Ooh, Johnny's. Oof. Oh. Sorry, I was just getting a little, hot under the collar there.
Do you know? Because you're a Johnny Sacco guy here. Yeah. He had like a remote control with his giant robot, right?
Yeah, his watch.
Yeah. And then who was the one? Is it Gigantor's the one he had like a walkie-talkie dial thing?
Oh, I don't know.
I think so. Let's see, Gigantor. I'm spelling this totally wrong. It was, you know who Go Nagai is?
Go Nagai?
Go Nagai, yeah.
No, I don't.
Oh, yeah, Gigantor, he's like the big round one with the pointy nose. So Go Nagai, he's the creator of Mazinger.
Oh yeah, Mazinger.
Yeah, Mazinger.
Whatever. When I was a kid, they were Mazingas. And I wanted those, so I had one of them, and I wanted those so bad. They were like the ungettable toy because they were just like so expensive.
Mm-hmm. He's also the creator of Devilman. Do you know Devilman?
Yeah.
And so those are like his two main properties. He's the one who came up with the idea of. He's the first one to go, the giant robots are cool, but wouldn't it be cooler if like the kid was inside the giant robot piloting it? And it changed the mech game forever. Because Gigantor and the giant robot, essentially, they were controlled from the outside. And Go was like, no, they should be controlled inside. And so ever since then, now we have, a billion mech animes and mangas.
Huh.
Thanks to his genius of just putting a pilot in a robot.
That was history I did not know about.
I had a friend who was who's super into Go Nagai as his favorite like anime manga creator. And he's a lot of his he's a independent comic book creator. A lot of his stuff is influenced from his stuff. So, yeah, good times though.
Good times. Yeah, I'm having problems with my streaming software here. I was trying to get the pictures over. Took me a little bit, but I got some pictures of Johnny Sacco up.
Masked Panther says, "Hey guys, what's up, Masked Panther? Welcome to the stream."
If you guys have not seen this, I'm telling you, look at this. Look at this. Who doesn't want to be this kid right here?
Well, we're on a delay, so.
Well, you see pictures. Come on.
There we go. No, yeah, I've always, I think most people who are into anime and manga have all at least had fantasized at one point of having a giant robot.
This, oh my God. There's a Lego must-have. What is this? So, man, it is, even if you go, Ash, that looks totally terrible and stupid. Like, why would I go watch this? Look at this picture to pop up right here. If you look at this, yes, it is terrible and stupid. And it is terrible and stupid in the most glorious, awesome way. And you will never know until you see it. Like,
and the complete series is available on Amazon Prime for $27.49.
Johnny Sacco and his flying robot?
Mm-hmm. Complete series on Amazon.
Oh, wow.
On DVD.
Wow, I wonder if you might be able to watch these on YouTube. This floating eye that he fights. Oh, man. So, conversely, so now that you've seen, just for the audience here, now they've seen Johnny Sacco, Giant Robo, this is what Giant Robo looks like. So you saw the original design, and you can see the love that they keep. But, they keep the design, but make it look more awesome. There's the classic one with Johnny Sacco riding on his shoulder with his watch. And it's so awesome because the original is just so silly and goofball, and it's everything you love about cheesy Godzilla movies, but like times 10. And then you watch Giant Robo, and it's like everything you love about like serious anime drama and action and heroes, and like it's not cornball at all, but they do the Astro Boy kind of style of art. It's it looks, it doesn't look like the serious like Gundam style. You know, it's like 60s retro, but it's the tone of the it's like 4 OAVs. It's not 4 or 5 OAVs. Um, it's totally serious, and it's just I can't.
I'm tempted to buy this 27, this 50s show, black and white show.
I'll be jealous if you do.
I still need to buy the Ultraman. I'm gonna buy Ultraman first. I know that.
That's better than Ultraman. My buddy's an big Ultraman fan, and I respect him, but I just can never. I don't relate. Like I don't.
Ultraman's in color, so that also helps.
Well, you saw the pictures, Johnny Sacco.
Yeah.
They have colorized versions.
Oh, okay.
But the black and white really like... Oh, look at that picture right there that's coming up. Hey, audience is listening. Is the resolution looking blurry?
It's a little fuzzy.
I'm wondering what my stream is doing. I think that's my fault, and I don't know. I'm an amateur here. All right, so live action Ronin Warriors.
That would be cool.
Hey, Bats, are you going to do another story reading like you did with Detective 1000?
That wasn't me.
What are you talking about, Comics Quirks?
That was Ash.
What?
Man, he's confused us.
Someone kick Comic Quirks. What the...
Maybe it was just so good he thought it was my channel.
Well, I can understand. That's a very good compliment. If you thought you listened to me and you're like, oh shit, this is Bats, then I must have been doing something right. So let's get on with the show here. Immortal Iron Fist, Comic Quirks. Did you read it? It's ComiXology. You have no excuse.
Oh, Melissa Harris says live action Sailor Moon. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Oh.
Bunch of hot girls transforming into hotter girls in little like schoolgirl outfits, fighting the patriarchy.
You're so sexist. Yeah. How dare you appreciate femininity?
How dare you?
It's so misogynistic for you to like women.
It is. It's so toxic.
Oh, take that toxic masculinity elsewhere.
Go watch Dragon Ball Z. All
right. So I don't think Comics Quirks did his homework either. So we're just going to get on with this. Ash. Why am I calling you Ash?
Because Comics Quirk called me Ash.
I guess.
Or called you Bats.
It's confusing. Bats, tell us why you picked Immortal.
I picked it because it was a character that you said you've always wanted to like, but you've just never read a story that did it for you. You said it needed the Frank Miller treatment.
Yeah.
And based on the design of Iron Fist, I was always like, and I've always liked Kung Fu movies, and so I was like, I feel like this would be really cool, but I feel like I shouldn't read the 70s stuff until I've read some more modern stuff to appreciate the character, to go back. Which, this was my first Iron Fist story, and I'm glad I started here and then went back and enjoyed the 70s stuff. So I picked it just because I think this is if you wanted to get into Iron Fist, this is the place to do it. So that's why I picked it.
All right. Well, it was an interesting choice. I'm glad we finally got Marvel to make it to one of our picks. Immortal Iron Fist, the last Iron Fist story by Ed Brubaker, Matt Fraction, and
David Aja.
And Aja. the band that did the famous one-hit song "Take on Me." Oh wait, that's a different Aha. So here we are, Immortal Iron Fist, the last Iron Fist story. I thought this was interesting, and I think it was a good pick for you based on what you just described. What you were trying to deliver, for me to experience. While Ed Brubaker is no Frank Miller, he definitely brought some of the same vibe. You can definitely tell that there was a lot of love for those old school 70s, 80s Daredevils that Frank Miller was known for. He kind of captures that feel. Some of the dark and grittiness. This scene, God, this resolution is bothering me.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah. I apologize, people. I don't know why.
That scene there with the water tower.
Yeah. I don't know why.
That scene there with We're just gonna have to live with this bad resolution.
Yeah, 720p is the highest. Looks like it looks okay on my actual computer. My iPad looks terrible. Weird. So here I'm sitting here like getting off the screen.
If you're watching it in the little box like I am, so read the chat. It's not that bad, but it's not that good either.
Yeah, no, I switched over to my computer, just as you saw on the screen. It looked okay. I also have my iPad next to me, so I can kind of see what everyone's watching at the same time, and it looks terrible on my iPad. But I really liked the vibe that he brought. I really liked that he did with Hydra, kind of what Miller had done with the Hand.
Mm-hmm.
And which was cool because I think it would have been cheap if he would have just brought the Hand in. I like that he kept Iron Fist not from just being a Daredevil clone type thing. Like, oh, look, he fights the Hand too. Like, Daredevil is all Japanese mythos type stuff, and Iron Fist is Kung Fu Chinese. And I like having that separation and difference. I like the 70s motif of these three characters here, at least Luke Cage and Misty. I don't necessarily care about this chick in the middle,
Colleen.
Yeah, whatever. But I like
Daughter
that
of the Dragon.
I like that they have the 70s style blaxploitation. I don't know if that's racist of me to say that I like seeing black characters portrayed in that fashion, but I feel like those movies, that style, that blaxploitation style, succeeded for a reason because black people liked it. Like culturally, it's not like it was something done by like white people to make fun of black people. It was done because that was the culture. Black culture was like, this is cool. We like this shit. So yeah. I don't really have much more to say other than I felt the book was a little confusing.
It is also like I think it's intended to be confusing for the reader as well because Danny is also confused. Danny's always been like, yeah, I'm the Iron Fist, and it's like, no, dude, you're in a long line of Iron Fist. And so it's meant to open you up as the reader with Danny to learn these new things. And he didn't, they mentioned Randall says, they're going to come for you and you're going to have to defend against the 7 other weapons. And he's like, what are you talking about? And even as the reader, you're kind of like, what is there's going to be he has to defend against the other 7 weapons. What the hell is he talking about? And I think it's intended that way, because then once you get to those scenes, you're like, oh, this is what Randall was talking about 6-7 issues ago.
Yeah. And the part of it too is like, this is my first real Iron Fist story. I've read like isolated Iron Fist comics here and there in the past, but I've never read like a story arc of Iron Fist, you know? So I'm like, who the hell is this Orson Randall guy? You know, and I'm like, wait, is that, you know, his name is like Rand, you know, it's like, what? Mm-hmm. So that was throwing me off, and I'm like, wait, is this like his father? No, this is who? And it was just, the narration was kind of confusing the way they played it off. Like I had to go back and read the pages a couple of times. That I think was just probably bad editing. I think editors probably should have caught that and cleaned it up a little bit. Also, the writer ideally shouldn't need an editor to clean that stuff up for him. So here we see this Orson Randall guy was like alive during World War I. Mm-hmm. And they never really explain like how he's Iron Fist and also Danny Rand is Iron Fist. Because there's a part where like here that I'm coming up to where Danny's looking at his beat up hand as soon as the delay catches up, and he's like, someone else is using the power of Iron Fist. That's not possible. That's where he first kind of notices. And then it's really a bad delay. Then we'll see the scene here. We get the full picture of Orson Randall, because you can tell him because he uses the guns.
And he has the black in the utility belt.
Sure.
In the closed shirt. Yeah, he has a different design.
But obviously real similar. I do like, one thing I really loved about this book was the world building, that they expand on Iron Fist's his lore, right? And they do some really cool things that I did not know about. Like, so Iron Fist gets his power from this immortal being, and he's like the one chosen one guy called Iron, wields the power of the Iron Fist, which is this power, this dragon or whatever. But there's like 7 of these immortal beings, and each of them essentially kind of have their champion. So I was like, oh, that's really cool. Like, I want to know more about this. They only kind of allude to it in this story, but
this is where it was first introduced.
Okay, that makes sense. But they only kind of allude to it here, and here we see the main. Well, I skipped past the main bad guy. Eventually, Orson finds Danny Rand, and he's an old guy, of course, because he was around World War I. Apparently, he ages slowly due to the power. Again, I didn't see it in the book. Maybe I missed it. Bats, you correct me if I'm wrong. They don't really explain why Orson can wield the power of the Iron Fist and Danny Rand can as well.
He mentions it that Xiao Lu. I'm really bad at reading like Asian names.
Sure.
But, right, Xiao Lu's the power is not, you know, he's always believed that the power was more of a river that just flows to him, but it's actually an ocean. And he tells Danny, you need to jump in.
So basically,
the power just doesn't flow to him. He needs to jump into the power. Because before this story, Danny could only just make an Iron Fist. He just made his hand hard. But, you know, in this story, he starts to learn more how to, like, channel his chi and use it in different ways.
So what you're telling me then is the narrator, Danny, in this case, is wrong when he says like I'm the only one who can be the Iron Fist, that's actually him misunderstanding.
Yeah.
And it's not a truth. He just
No.
thought that was the case, and we're finding out there can be more than one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Xiao Lu or Xiao Lao. I think it's Xiao Lao. Xiao Lao is his power is an ocean, where Danny thought it was just a river.
Right. This is a cool scene. I did like this character, Orson. Orson Rand, really, I liked him a lot. He's kind of like
talking also about the hero's journey. You know, if you read the hero's journey, there's also like, you know, it starts off in the regular world, and then you're introduced to the mentor that takes you out of your regular world and into. So if you further the story of the Matt Fraction and Ed Brubaker's Iron Fist, it really goes full circle all the way around.
Huh. Yeah, I do. Well, we'll get to that as I get more. I like this scene though, where he's like, Danny's looking at Orson. Orson's got guns, and of course, you know, Danny's only ever uses his fists and stuff. And he's like, "Great, Orson. So you learned kung fu from Lei Kung and Smith and Wesson? Listen to you. You don't know a thing about your own history. Wow, was she the pirate queen of Pinghai? She could extend the Shu Lao Chi into arrows fired from her bow," which you see earlier in the book. In the beginning, you see ancient Chinese Iron Fist is this girl, and she's got this bow, and she just lights people up with it.
If I remember correctly, later on, Orson also like he could just shoot randomly and make the bullets go where he wants them to go.
Okay, well, so he just says she could fire into arrows fired from her bow, and it was written that her enemies fell as if lightning from God had destroyed them. Now shut up and try to keep up. It's just like, I just thought it was a cool scene because Danny's just trying to chastise him and stuff, and it's just like he just puts him in his place. I like that. Now, like you kind of mentioned, like the hero's journey. It's a good point. Like I think that's something that we never got to see in this character, Danny. You know, it's like it's kind of glossed over. Like, oh yeah, he was in China, blah blah blah, temple, blah blah blah, get the power, blah blah blah. Okay, done.
Well, and before this Immortal Iron Fist storyline, Iron Fist as a character just at Marvel was pretty stagnant.
Yeah.
After Heroes for Hire kind of canceled out in the late 80s, early 90s, they just like didn't know what to do with them. And it's kind of like, you know, when you take a C-list character and you bring them back up to the spotlight. And since then, since this run, they haven't quite managed to do that. And then getting a little off track, the Ed Brisson, his run from a couple years back a year ago, was on the level of this, and I was like, this is great. Got a good Iron Fist book again. And they're like, yep, never mind, canceled. Like, oh, you bastards.
Yeah, Iron Fist has always been a tough sell character. And you know, because for so long he just he was a bland character. He didn't really have much interesting backstory. He was an excuse to capitalize on the popularity of Kung Fu in the 70s. You know, when Bruce Lee was at his height, it's like, hey, let's make Kung Fu characters. People love Kung Fu, right? And so they just threw a guy out there, and there wasn't much to him. And that fragility of character is made him weak to audiences, you know, as far as he's not interesting. And that's why I was telling you before, I was like, he needs the Frank Miller treatment, because Daredevil kind of suffered from the same thing. If you look at the pre-Miller Daredevils, he was very much just this, I run around in Hell's Kitchen and I beat up people, like, and Frank Miller is like, let's give him this whole mythos and this backstory and all this cast of characters, and, you know, and this intertwined him with the Kingpin, and, and brought Bullseye into, being his major nemesis, and then Elektra and all this stuff, and you're just like, oh my god, this is fascinating. There's this whole mythology of, geez, the hand. How did I skip the hand? A stick. This whole mythology behind Daredevil now that didn't really exist in that way, and I was like, Iron Fist needs that, and this book kind of did that. And I froze on this page right here. Sorry, I'll let you talk in a second there, because I wanted to say, like, this cover reminded me of one of those old Miller Daredevil books. I looked at the sniper things in the back. It seemed very much kind of an homage and channeling, but yet then you get you turn the page and you get this very modern sensibility. So I liked that they didn't try to just cut and paste.
Yeah, with the Netflix show, they took a lot from the Matt Fraction, Ed Brubaker stuff, but they took a lot from it, but just refused to commit to the bit. There's actually a scene in the live action show that I even got. It's the best part of the show. Is you see a clip of Orson Randall. Like, they're like, oh yeah, this is the Iron Fist, and then they're like, there's some old footage from World War I, and you just see him running and dodging bullets like through no man's land, like in the scene in this book. And then you just see him go, ah, and he jumps at the camera and his hand lights up and he hits, and then the camera goes, and you're like, oh, that was so dope. And that's the best part of the series of 12 episodes.
I still have not watched that series.
And you don't need to. Like, everyone, it's kind of like, it's on the level of Batman versus Superman. It's like consensus say it's terrible, and then like people who really, really want to like it find all the reasons to like it. And I was one of those guys. I was like, when he actually does the Iron Fist, it looks really cool. They're like, yeah, but the fights are terrible. Like, but it looks cool when his hand glows. They're like, yeah, I can do that in Photoshop. Like, but it's like, you're making up excuses for it to be good when it is, in actuality, it's not. Like, when you watch Daredevil in the fight scene, I remember watching Daredevil season 1 in one day and being like, this is freaking amazing.
Yeah.
And this is leading up to 3 other shows, and the last show is going to be an Iron Fist show. Iron Fist is going to be amazing. If this is Daredevil, Iron Fist is going to be.
Well, they cast that guy Danny Rand. They cast him like at the last minute. He never had any chance. They couldn't. Most times when you go do either a TV show or a movie of like this nature where you're doing a lot of physicality, kung fu, whatever. Like, you have like sometimes like a year lead time of training.
Just in general, the fight choreography is total trash.
Well, right, like I said, he like got picked. I don't remember the details, but I seem to remember like the story about he got cast like weeks before the show started even shooting. So like they just like basically he just walked in off the street and was like, "Here you go, put on a costume." Like you're just like
you can't never wore a costume.
Well, whatever. I haven't seen the show, obviously, Bats, but
yeah.
You can't just take some guy off the street that doesn't know, he's not trained, and make him look like a good fighter. It's if you've ever trained fighting, it's not something that just comes like I can teach you for an hour and you're like, oh yeah, I got all this down. It just doesn't work that way. Anyways, back to the book. I did like this little cameo they brought in because Danny Rand, his boy Luke Cage, who he's forever connected to because of the Heroes for Hire books. He's no longer Danny Rand's no longer Heroes for Hire, so instead they got the new Heroes for Hire. It's this trio. So we got Misty Knight. We're on it, Mr. Hogarth. You don't even have to ask. She's just like, they made Luke Cage like a thug. and then this other girl. Who cares about her?
Colleen is badass.
Whatever.
She is awesome.
Stupid. Oh, thank you. Thank God. Luke. What? You just like look at, and then you can see all the Hydra agents. And this too was like very like reminiscent of the Frank Miller style.
Yeah.
With, like the hand. Oh, I love that shot. I love the mentoring here. This really, tell me if this rung true to you because you're the Bat guy. This really kind of felt like Batman and Robin. Like
With,
not in like the story wise, but like in the relationship, like Orson Rand like talking to Danny is like, look, bud, like you don't know shit. Like I'm gonna teach you some things, you know. And he's just this old grizzled dude, and then we got the upstart kid who's like, yeah, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. I don't get it. I see what you're saying, but I guess, yeah, in some ways it does have that feeling. But to me, it's Batman and Robin have always had like a really close relationship. Where this relationship reminds me of something more along the lines of I'm trying to think.
Maybe I'm projecting here. Maybe I'm like reading this and going, oh, this is kind of how I want. It feels more like maybe not Batman and Robin, but like Batman and Nightwing, you know, or something. I don't know. Just the scene right here where they're in the elevator and they're just waiting. You can just imagine the elevator's moving and it's like little elevator music in the background. Mm-hmm. It's like, can't quite catch my breath. Exhausted. Yeah, I just want to shower, sleep for about a week. Crack my neck. Do 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 ding. Oh no, you know, and then he's just like ready. He's pulling out his guns, and he's like, "Oh shit!" It just cracked me up. And then, of course, you've got the army of Hydra guys. Iron Fist, your destiny has arrived, and we get the final issue here. And I did not like this artist. Ugh. What happened?
You don't care for Aha?
I guess if that's Aha, I guess I don't. Oh, way to go,
ComiXology. I like his style. That's just me, though.
Are you kidding me? Look at this page. Oh, when it comes up here, this page.
Oh, yeah, these ones are... No, I'm saying the overall artist in the main book. Aha's good. But not the... Yeah, the... These are the Orson Randall flashbacks here, right?
Mm-hmm. Here's Thug Luke Cage.
And you get more Orson as the series progresses too.
We're all gonna die. Help me, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. How about help me, Colleen, Luke, and Misty? Pretty sure that's blasphemy. Well, golly gosh, I sure hope we didn't offend Jaren's delicate fucking sensibilities, seeing as how we're about to save his lily white ass. Well then, ladies. He's just looking like a thug.
Yeah, this is when Marvel had no shame in having Luke Cage being Luke Cage.
He's not even like Luke Cage though. Like they like
no, this is his character.
They swung the pendulum kind of a little further.
Just a modern here. He is a 2007 version of the character he was in 1977.
This is like Tupac Luke Cage.
Yeah, and he's to me he reminds me of 50 Cent.
Or 50 Cent. Okay. Like instead of like Shaft Luke Cage. But it's cool. It is cool. It's better than Gordon Goodbutter.
Luke Cage has always been gangster.
Yeah, but gangster and like not gangster. He's always been like
he's been a hard black guy from the hood.
Yeah, but like the black hero, like Shaft type. Anyways, whatever the case is, as long as he's not Gordon Goodbrother, I'm happy. Mm-hmm. I don't like what's her name, the samurai girl that they're just like she's Colleen. Like the best samurai girl ever because we just made it up and there she is.
No, she's badass, bro. Like
of course she's badass, just like Wolverine and Wolverina 2 and Wolverina 3, and they're all badass because the script says so.
No, this is an actual character who's been around for a long time,
that I've never heard of.
Because you didn't read Iron Fist and Power Man. She's been in the Heroes for Hire series since like the 70s. And she's part of that whole
I'm going to do some research.
mythos
Eric Breen, can you fact check him for me, please?
Eric Breen will back me on this.
I'm just asking him to fact check you. I do like the scene.
Colleen has been in the group as like Misty Knight's more noticed because she has a big afro and a metal arm. But like there's Luke Cage and Iron Fist, right? And then there's Misty and Colleen, and they're like little separate teams.
Well, I think I'm not even really a fan of Misty anymore either because they're trying to make her more than she is, and I'm like, let her just be a detective again. Like, why does she have to now like, oh, I'm a superhero girl? But I like the scene here where they're fighting and stuff, and it's like he grabs the sword and he's like, give me that. No problem. And he just like starts charging it up with his Iron Fist ability. I thought that was cool. Again, like the building on the mythos is cool. And here we get to see these other characters, right? He's talking about, Lei Kung, the Thunderer, the man who trained me to face the dragon. The time of the tournament of the heavenly cities is at hand, and your presence is demanded. UT, the august personage in jade, Lord of Kunlun. The seven capitals.
These characters here are from the old Iron Fist series. These are the one with the full face mask. That's the leader of Kunlun or Kung Lao, whatever it is called, Kunlun. And then UT is his sensei. He's also Devo's dad.
Right. So Davos, by the way, is the bad guy. That I kind of skipped over here that they fight.
He's been Iron Fist's main bad since the 70s.
Whatever. No one cared about Iron Fist until never. Yeah, so that was like the story. I kind of glossed over Davos. I shouldn't have done that. He was kind of interesting, but I guess
he gets more notice in the second book.
But yeah, they fight, and Iron Fist kicks ass because of a really cool scene that I also just kind of glossed over, where his mentor right here, we get a nice death scene where
Snake Eyes and Cobra Commander
or Orson Randall has to die, and he tells him, "Listen, Danny, my chi, take it. Stop the steel serpent. You need it when you face him in the tournament. Take it, boy. Like we took it from Shu Lao, the Undying. The tournament? Before I die, you have to touch my heart." Die? But Orson, you can't die. I have too many questions. You're like my grandfather. Danny, don't be an idiot. It's like, this is kind of, it is kind of channeling this like inner Frank Miller, I think, in the dialogue and the Frank Miller Batman that I enjoy. That's what it is. Maybe that's why you're not seeing it the same way I do. The relationship that Frank Miller Batman has with Robin. It's kind of this almost contentious, like it's a father-son thing, but like it's also just like, I don't know. I think contentious is the best thing. But here we see he like taps in just like he got his powers originally. He now takes the chi from Orson and becomes Super Saiyan Iron Fist. And that's how he's able to win the big battle. And, all in all, it's a pretty traditional comic. As far as like story goes, I liked it. And I don't mean to say that as like a negative. I think it's too far and few between. I think if Marvel Comics was writing stuff like this today, I would still be buying Marvel Comics. This was good. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. My biggest critique about it was the narrative was a little confusing. And for a book that's like volume 1, it should be a jump on book. Like this should be like, oh, you've never read Iron Fist before? Here. And this felt like, oh, hey, Iron Fist fans, you've been reading for all these years? We're going to like expand. Like, it really felt like it was catering towards people who already knew Iron Fist, and the writers didn't. They made that classic mistake of not realizing like that every comic is someone's first comic.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not a comic idiot. Like I'm not, I did miss a lot of years of Marvel, but I still know all the basics, and I know a lot more about Marvel than DC. It's like, even though I never read Iron Fist, I know about Iron Fist. I've read all the, he's guest starred and stuff. I've followed things. There's still so much I didn't know, and it's like the author just kind of expected me to know. I would hate to see someone who's never read Marvel at all jump into this. They might just be like, what? So I don't know. But even said that, like, I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the homage to Frank Miller, but without trying to like go too hard into the paint, as Zach would say.
Mm-hmm.
They do just enough to be like, hey, you remember that Daredevil you liked back in the late 70s and early 80s? We're going to revisit that a little bit, but not too much. We're not going to overdo it, but just enough to give you a little fan service and make you go, oh yeah, this is cool. I miss those days. Told a solid, story, a little bit of adventure, gave you, this mythos and world building, and had a pretty solid resolution towards beating the bad guy, and then left you kind of with this open-ended, like what comics do really well, like is like, oh, now the story's over. Here's the beginning of the next story, and leave you hanging. All right. Sorry, that was
No, that's good. Yeah,
I monopolized the chat there. What are your thoughts?
Well, this is not my first time reading it, so it's kind of fun to come back and look at it with kind of knowing the beats and knowing who the characters are a little bit more. And it's kind of like, oh, I remember, it's like you read a series and then you see the hints, the little, this is going to be important later. I had a lot of those moments where I was like, oh yeah, I remember this thing happens and this later, like I had more of those. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it more coming back to it and reading it again. And it kind of disappointing because I was just looking on ComiXology, and only the first 2 volumes are available on ComiXology out of the 4 for free.
Wah, wah.
Yeah.
But don't worry, kids, because Marvel is constantly dumping their stuff on ComiXology for pennies on the dollar. Now that we're over there, I'll bring up the sales. So, did anyone in chat read this book? Were we
Quirks did.
Quirks did. Quirks, I want to hear from you, buddy. Type up something. Obviously, since you're typing, you don't have to type an essay.
Colin Breen says first appearance was in Marvel Premium number 19. Danny battled Davos for the Iron Fist Marvel Team Up number 64. Just trying to contribute.
Cool. Yeah, Eric's always a wealth of knowledge for, like, he's like, seriously, he's I don't know what we would do without him. Like, I don't know what I would do. Just every time I need to like have something, and like he's just like, boom, I got the facts at his fingertips. Daredevil moved to San Francisco for years and had a relationship with Black Widow, just trying to contribute. God, I'm glad I missed those years.
Eric Brain also says Colleen was in the original series, going back to Marvel Premiere. Back in the 70s, you had I think they're called the Daughters of the Dragon, I believe, which was Colleen and Misty, and they had their adventures.
Nice. Hey, Gigamock's in the channel. Shout out Gigamock. Thanks for joining. Quirks, you said you read the book, so we were looking for you to give your feedback. Way to disappear in the middle and be the only one who read the book. Gigamonk says, I did years ago. I loved it, but it was in relation to my enthusiasm for martial arts and the references to Marvel, which I was not following at all. I think I'm missing the narrative on that. Meanwhile, while we wait for Comics Quirks to give us feedback, I'm going to show you what the sales... Oh, did they take them down? Oh, no, here we go. They just have new sales. So here you can see, you can get Miss Marvel trade paperbacks for $2.50. So,
but no one wants to read that.
No, I'm just, yeah, you're right. I'm not saying, okay, I'm only using this as an example because I didn't know what they had. They just changed their sales apparently. But you can see that Marvel dumps their stuff. Like now Avengers, well, even here's an Avengers book for $2.50. So even some of their Avengers stuff is pennies on the dollar. They just, you don't see that as much with DC. DC usually it's like $5.99 is usually like their sale prices on their books. Now they just did a DC Bat Villain sale. Looks like they got a bunch of stuff here for cheap. Jeez, less than $5. You can get all sorts of Bat stuff. That should strike your fancy, Bats.
I read the majority of them already.
All right. Well, we'll take the win out of my sales.
Sorry.
All right. I guess Quirks isn't gonna give any feedback on Daredevil. Sorry, Iron Fist. I enjoyed it. I thank you for recommending it. That's exactly the kind of stuff I was hoping, the comic club thing would be about, is like finding these things that I probably wouldn't have read on my own. Mm-hmm. And you guys, I encourage you to, try to join in and read these things, because going out of your comfort zone can be a good thing. Sometimes you're just like, I just don't care. I'm not going to read that. But when you have an excuse, when it's like, oh, there's a challenge, like I got to read this. I find myself every week, I'm like, usually at the last minute, I'm like reading these books and stuff. And then every one so far has been a winner. And I'm like, I'm glad I read that. Comics Course says, I think Brubaker did great getting... Sorry, I can't read. I think Brubaker did great getting to the hooking me into it. When he went to the industries, he rejected the money from the beginning, and there were a shit ton of ninjas. Well, they were Nazis, but close enough.
They were Nazi ninjas.
Yeah, they were actually, fun fact, Bats. Those guys were all working for Captain America. Little did we know at the time.
Right.
Little did we know. Gigamock says, so it was fun to see Hydra and some fringe characters revisited. I think your criticism is right. It was not a know-nothing, so my enjoyment was enhanced as opposed to a new-to-Marvel reader. He said, I was not a know-nothing. Yeah, I kind of agree. Like, if you know something, you're able to follow along better. I struggled a little bit. I think the narrative was a little jumpy, but I got past it. So, overall, it worked. And I'm glad. I probably would not have ever read that had it not been for the club. And now I'll probably...
Are you gonna check out the second one?
Not immediately, but I will definitely put that on my...
It's in your queue.
In my radar, yeah, to like get to. And all the books that we've done so far. We revisit like the Robin. Well, there's not a sequel to that, but the Robin book...
Kinda, sorta.
Oh, sure. I mean, even though I wasn't a Robin fan, I was like, that was really fun, and I really liked that style. We talked about how, reasons why. Bloodshot and Exo Manowar. Holy cow, Exo Manowar is still the best. Battle Angel Alita. Battle Angel I probably would have read anyway, just because of the whole movie thing. Mm-hmm. That's probably the only one I would have read on my own. Well, no, I would have eventually read Exo and Bloodshot too, but it forced me to like get into these, and all of them just so far. All of them have made me want to read more. And I think that is ultimately the best, well, maybe not the best review, but what matters. Like, did you do good enough to want more? Yeah, Gigamox making fun of my stack. What do you know about my stack?
Says you'll read volume 2 in 2112.
2112. Yeah. All right. So, any final things you want to talk about, Iron Fist? We can beat this dead horse for a while.
Yeah, there's a. I realized that I don't own those books, and I pride myself in being an Iron Fist fan. And he's one of the characters that I always collect, like so much that there was that typhoid thingamajig at Marvel they did recently.
What?
The Typhoid Mary storyline.
Oh, Typhoid Mary. Yeah, I got avoided
There's
that.
all those one shots.
I avoided that like the plague.
Yeah, but there was an Iron Fist one, and I was like,
I heard it was terrible.
I know. Yeah, it's like I saw it, and I was like, oh, should I buy this? And I was like, yeah, it's just a one shot. It means nothing. It's attached to the story that I'm not reading. That means nothing. Yeah, I'm okay. It's like maybe like 20 years down the line when I find it in a 50-cent bin. And inflation's gone up to $12 comics, and it's still in a 50-cent bin.
Yeah, no. I don't like reading bad versions of my character. The more I like a character, the less I want to read bad iterations of it. I was just going through the sales. Lots of Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel stuff. Blech. But just new to me here is this whole Batman thing. There's still lots of good stuff for people. Batman Hush you can get under $5. I bet you there's some really good stuff in here for all this discount. Hey, look, there's Man Bat. Yeah, ComiXology is a really great tool, you guys, to get trades for cheap and read stuff that you just don't want to like overload. This $5.99 a month ComiXology Unlimited is totally been worth it, especially that we've been doing this club. You guys should check it out and join us on this. We'll move on to the next topic. What is the next topic?
The next week's pick.
Oh, shoot. Dun, dun, dun.
Did you not pick one again?
No, it didn't. Well, I remember I had the computer problems and I thought the list got wiped.
Yeah.
When I made. Give me stall for time, and I'll get you something because I did find that list.
Okay. I'm stalling for time, and I don't know what to say. So
we got the topic. Oh my goodness! Believe me.
Oh yes. Okay,
it's almost like we don't rehearse.
Almost, huh?
Almost.
I rehearsed.
You're gonna be in a hearse.
I just don't know how to work my computer to find my topic. So, but I remember I did want to talk about this, and since I'm stalling for time, and Ash will never want to talk about this regardless. So, the new Hasbro Power Ranger seasons has finally came out, and it exceeded my expectations. I don't know if anyone else is here. We're probably losing viewers, as I said, Power Rangers, but.
No, I bet Gigamock is going to be... Gigamock likes Power Rangers, if I know correctly.
Yeah, so the new season, I was... In the back of my head, I was like, oh, this is the season where SJWism comes in. And then I had to remind myself, I was like, Bats, Power Rangers has always been diverse. And I was like... Then I started arguing with myself. I'm like, oh, they're going to do something hella cringy. And Hasbro doesn't have the best track record with any of their properties, and now they took over Power Rangers. It's something bad's gonna happen. And based on the first episode, I've really enjoyed it. I was gonna do a review, but I kind of missed the the boat on it because it had some. I watched it on YouTube, and then YouTube took it down, and then I had a hard time finding it. And then I remembered I had on demand in my living room, and I didn't want to do like a review. I like doing like reviews of shows or movies by kind of going through the movie, kind of like I do with the comics. And I didn't want to sit in my living room and like review a TV show in my living room, so I just didn't do it. So, but I thought about it, and that's just a thought that counts. Let's see. Eric Brina said Gabby Rivera wrote it. I'm sure she's a national treasure. Wait, what did I miss here?
Eric Breen had said, let's read America Chavez for next week. What an underrated gem. And then Gigamock responds, or we could read the back of a cereal box. Comics Fork says, I'm thoroughly on the Alterna train. Yeah, Alterna's cool. And then Eric says, if Gabby Rivers wrote it, I'm in. She's a national treasure. Oh, where did Melissa go? Melissa was, you stopped typing, Melissa. You're normally full of comments. All right, I'm ready to unveil. Are you ready for the? Are you ready for the surprise? For our next, you're gonna love this one, Bats.
I have an idea what it is.
You're gonna be so excited when you see. You're gonna.
Okay.
Here it comes.
Am I like watching the delay?
Apparently, you're watching the delay. A little bit drum roll.
Oh yeah. Ah, damn it. It was like I saw your list and I was like, okay. I have read this before.
I put it on the list and you did not cross it out.
Because I didn't cross any of them out.
You told me one to cross out. I crossed out for you. So, anyways, that's your fault. Now you're trying to. You gotta.
This is highly offensive.
It's highly offensive. Why?
Yeah, look at the violin strings point to her vagina.
What? There's no vagina. It's just a violin.
No, Claire is gonna see this.
Why are you sexualizing a violin?
Claire is gonna see this and she's gonna lose her mind.
You misogynist. It's just a musical instrument. Why is everything gotta be sex?
I would play it.
All right, look. So I picked this one because in spirit of what we're trying to do here is discover things that people would probably not read on their own, but yet have reasons to believe that there's something worth reading. It's got a 4-star average rating on ComiXology. This did actually get its own TV show that I hear is quite good. So I thought we'd try it out, and you know, I don't want to just keep playing it safe every week.
Cool.
And I wasn't deliberately trying to pick something. I hope this is good. Like that's kind of why
I liked it. I don't. What year was it? 2019. I probably read this back in like 2009.
So 10 years ago.
What?
10 years ago.
Something like that. Like anywhere from like.
Oh, good. So this will give you a good perspective, just like on the last book, where you'll have one person reading it for the first time and another person revisiting it. So
what's funny is I read this Umbrella Academy the same means that I read Iron Fist back in the day, and that is through the library. I used to go through a financial struggle in my early 20s, and I would just not be caught up on comics, but I would always be in the library getting books just to feed the addiction that is comics.
Gigamock says, do you have to listen to My Chemical Romance while you read it? something
You,
tells me he's watched the TV show and there's My Chemical Romance in it. I don't
well,
know.
I'm sure.
I have not seen the show yet, and I'm not going to watch it until I read this because I don't want to taint my.
Well, what I do appreciate about this book is it has was it a foreword by Grant Morrison, and that's the only reason I read this book originally. Is I was like, what is this? And I looked at it, and then the cover said with the foreword by Grant Morrison, and I was like, well, Gerard Way, and it's like I look on the back, it's like right, My Chemical Romance. These guys are stupid.
Oh, hey. So yeah, I didn't. I'm listening to you and reading Gigamox. I didn't realize. Sorry, my ignorance. I didn't realize the writer was the
he's the
lead
singer.
singer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So now
Ger-
now all this makes sense to me. Now I'm.
Okay, yeah. So I had, I'd seen it, and me being in a metal band at the time and being really into like Black Dahlia and As Blood Runs Black and those type of like grindcore, deathcore, metal, melodic death metal bands. I read this book based on Grant Morrison having a foreword, and then I had found out something about Grant Morrison that really intrigued me. In one of the My Chemical Romance albums, there's a violin player. And so technically, Grant Morrison is a member of My Chemical Romance. And I was like, what the hell?
What?
And so during the recording session, Gerard Way was, talking about Grant Morrison's Doom Patrol, and he's got this whole story that's influenced from his Doom Patrol, and one day he's gonna make the comic, when he's not doing the band stuff. And Grant was like, you should just do it anyway and do it now, and sell it to the people who listen to your band right now. And he's like, while you're traveling on a bus,
Right.
write the book. And so Grant was just kind of kicked him in the ass and was like, just don't do it later, just do it now. And I thought that was cool. And I was like, all right, I'll check this out.
Well, that's
Grant
cool.
Morrison pressured this emo kid into making a comic. I'm curious.
I'm more interested in checking this out now that I'm knowing this backstory, because I'm not a fan of My Chemical Romance. I don't have anything against them. I just not music that's ever.
Yeah, it's not your style.
It's not something that's ever grabbed me. But if the fact is that it's a creative. Making music is a creative thing, right? If you're lead singer, you're writing lyrics, writing music, whatever. It's a creative endeavor. Writing comics is a creative endeavor. I'm curious to see if this, where this creativity, like how that takes the story. Obviously, there's something good in it. I believe it's Netflix that optioned it and turned it into a show. I could be wrong. I don't.
It has the vibe of, like, have you ever seen like a My Chemical Romance music video?
I probably have, but I don't remember.
It has that like that emo goth, black suits with.
I am gonna listen, by the way. Gigamock has given me an idea. I'm going to listen to My Chemical Romance when I read this. I will, and I will let you know if it enhanced my experience.
You're not a boomer. You're like Generation X.
I know. It's just the saying when people who don't know shit, you're just like, all the kids are like, yo, stupid. You didn't know this? Apparently not.
Eric Brain says, the more you know.
I feel old, man, when it's like when My Chemical Romance, which was popular like 10 years ago, is new to me.
Longer than that, like 15.
Was it 15?
Yeah.
Yeah. I seem to remember it being like 2010, 2009, but whatever. Cool. So that's our book for next week. Comics Quirks shouts out, "Dear God," when I announced it, but then he's like, "Actually, I'm down. It's been on my reading list for quite a while now." That's my Comic Quirks voice.
Like so innocent and naive.
He knows I like him. He's a cool guy.
By
the way, we promoted your channel, Quirks, when you weren't here.
I was just like, imagine he just like hangs out under desks. for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like right now, he's under his desk.
Under his desk, reading a comic book, listening to the podcast. That is
He
Quirks.
says he sounds awful.
You sound awful. Well, hey man, you are free to make those comments.
Can you do his like, you know how every YouTuber has their little like intro thing? Like I got the Fonz thing. I do the Fonz.
Oh yeah, yeah, I have to. I've actually done that. I've copied all the YouTubers I listen to. I've done their intro, but I haven't done Comics Quirks yet. I don't think I've done yours yet either, Bats.
Have you done Tristan's?
Oh man, I gotta get my voice to crack. Sorry, Tristan, if you're listening. You're probably not listening, but if you are, yeah. Oh, what else we got on the agenda in our super rehearsed show that we had an extra day to prepare for?
I don't know.
If only we had some sort of like show notes document that we prepared ahead of time that we could refer to during the show.
That's what professionals would have done.
That's something. Hey, you know what? You brought this up a while ago, Bats, about DC Universe, and I wanted to check this out back like around Christmas time when it launched, and they had their like free, like, oh, get a free week and check it out. And I almost did it. And then something told me, I was like, I'm only gonna be able to do this once. And I go, they don't really have any content right now, so I'm gonna hold off. I think you have DC Universe. What do you think about it? Did I lose audio? I think I lost audio. Or Bats is lost. I think I lost Bats. All right, so having a little bit of technical difficulties. Would not be an Ash and Bats show without that. I don't even know if I'm being heard right now. And oh cool, Gigamach is responsive, tells me he can hear me. So we've lost Bats. I need to get I don't know what happened to him. Text him here. It's really hard to text on a phone and like host a stream of thought on a live broadcast. It's a challenge to do that. So he Bats has never sounded better. Oh my goodness. That's funny. Well, I can't get his response to the DC Universe. Does anyone else out there have the DC Universe thing? I think it's like $7.99 a month.
Hey, I'm back.
Hey, welcome back, buddy.
Yeah, I was trying to get to our show notes and I accidentally hit the wrong X, which canceled out all my tabs.
Well, I'm glad that you didn't just like die in the middle of the show. That would have been really tragic. It would have been great
It seemed like you carried on without me.
It would have been great for our view count, but it would have been tragic.
The SJWs would have been like, look, they're even killing their own.
Oh,
I would have finally got all the subs that I wanted.
for one episode.
One episode.
While you were gone,
you're talking about the DC University or DC Universe app.
Yeah, don't read the chat, by the way.
Okay.
So I was asking you, DC Universe, that system. Do you use it still, right?
I haven't.
Okay, but you have it, right?
Yeah, I have it. I just haven't been using it.
So I was thinking about it. Like around December, I was gonna get it, like the free trial, but then I decided not to because I was like, it's still new. They don't really have any content. I know that you've watched some of the shows on there. I don't know like what other content. Like I don't. The shows are a cool bonus, but I was kind of hoping it would also be like Marvel Unlimited, where you'd have access to all the
Yeah, so
comics and stuff.
the comics on there are good. Like there's a lot of good stuff. Like, I've been nagging you to read Tomasi, Batman and Robin for quite some time now,
Right.
and that's on there.
Cool.
Like the full run
Ah,
is
okay.
on there. And so there's a lot of good content. There's a lot of things that are connected to the TV shows. So they got like all of Grant Morrison's Doom Patrol. They got all the Marv Wolfman, George Perez Titans books on there, the 80s Titan stuff. There's just a lot. I can jump on my phone here because I have it on my phone.
While you're looking for that, the Batman and Robin that you're talking about, is that the New 52 run?
Correct.
Okay.
The before the New 52, that was the Dick Grayson, Damian stuff
Oh, okay.
with
Whatever.
by Grant Morrison, and then Judd Winnick took over.
Yeah, I mean, Peter Tomasi and Patrick Gleason are like a winning combo, so I miss them on Superman so
So yeah,
much.
they got the 80s Animal Man, the New 52 Animal Man. They got a lot of Aquaman on here. They got the Batgirls, a lot of Batgirl stuff on here. Batman and Robin, and then from the Batman the 1940s series, they got 147 issues on here.
Cool. Okay, so I was just checking ComiXology simultaneously while you're looking at that to see if if they're doubling down. If
There's
it's
there's
if it's free on ComiXology, it's like why pay also, but it's not. None of these
no,
are.
yeah, it's basically almost like ComiXology has stuff that the DC Universe app does not have.
Interesting.
So it's almost like if you have both, then you even have a bigger digital DC catalog, which I do. Like I have it, and I like having it. I like supporting the app because I'm a DC fan, and I like the idea at any given point if I wanted to go like Denny O'Neill's Azrael has been on my radar for 20 years. And
Now,
if I randomly want to read issue 1, I can.
now let me ask you a question. For a while, when it launched, Marvel Unlimited was kind of shaky. Didn't have a lot of content for its $10 a month. But fast forward to today, Marvel Unlimited is a stellar value. They have hundreds of thousands of books on there. I think and I think they're only 6 months behind
Mm-hmm.
at this point now on like what you can read as far as like new stuff. So if you're a big Marvel fan, Marvel Unlimited is a superb value. Um, I canceled my Marvel Unlimited subscription because they have a lot of stuff on ComiXology, and it's enough for me. I wasn't reading that much Marvel Unlimited, and I was getting more into DC, so I just canceled it. But that's not to say it wasn't a value. Now compare that to the DC universe currently. Would you say that they have enough library to warrant that, like for comic book fans, or you think it needs to still grow to be a value?
The fact that it has original content television shows on there with a fairly decent size catalog, like I would say it's worth $7.99. I just wish that like so I'm looking at the Nightwing stuff, right? So they have the 1995 4-part miniseries. Okay, that's cool. But then I go on to the 1996 series, and that goes to 1 all the way up to 56. Or no, excuse me. So it dips out at
You're
38.
losing me on the numbers. I don't understand what any of this means. Like,
Okay, so it does it so Nightwing, the Nightwing series from 1996 goes 1 all the way to 39.
Is that the whole run? Like, I don't know what that means. You have to put that
No,
into
so that
context.
it dips out at 39, right? So it's pretty much like the Chuck Dixon, Scott McDaniel era.
Pretend I don't know anything about the Nightwing run. I don't know what dipping out at 39 means. Like,
Okay, so
if it's only
it
39 issues, that's like the whole thing. I
no,
don't.
the series is like 120 issues.
Okay.
And so it's so the first creative team, Chuck Dixon and Scott McDaniel, goes for 40 issues. And the last issue, number 40, is just a filler issue.
Okay.
So it has pretty much their whole run.
Well,
And
okay.
then
It has like it sounds like it has like a quarter of the overall run though.
yeah, and then so from 39 it jumps to 65 to 65, 66, 68, 69.
See, I'm glad that you mentioned that. Marvel Unlimited used to do that too. When I had it the first time, like years ago, and that would annoy the crap out of me. I'd like be reading X-Men and be like, oh, I got to like issue 172, or and then it'd be like, and then you got to jump to 199, and you're like, what? I want to read sequentially. Like, why? I hate it when they had these holes, and they've since been doing a really good job filling in those holes so you can get like the entire arcs. Like, it's like, even if it's bad stuff or whatever, it's like they realize like fans are like not cool, and you're like, oh, we took 20 comics out of this run and made a big hole. It sounds, I'm a little concerned when you tell me that DC's kind of doing that right now. Do you think it's detracting from the value? And pretend that there's no TV shows. We'll get to the TV shows in a sec.
I feel like if you're like, look, like, say, remember when ComiXology's like, we now have DC, and you're like, oh, that's a big deal, now because it makes the ComiXology more valuable.
Right. But, well, from my perspective, ComiXology already was valuable for $5.99, having a good
absolutely.
chunk of Marvel. Plus, you get a lot of independent stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I was like, oh, you're just adding DC for an extra cost? I like DC. This is great. However, $7.99. Actually, if I imagine ComiXology $5.99 and it was
okay, never mind.
Sorry, hold on. I'm sorry. I know you wanted to. If ComiXology was only $5.99, but all I got was the DC stuff and not the rest, I don't think I would have it. So that's why I'm kind of asking this question of, because DC Universe only has DC.
Okay. So what I was trying to say is, when they announced this, I said, oh, that's freaking cool. It's going to be like Marvel Unlimited, but DC. And then they're like, no, it's just curated. I'm like, what the hell do you mean curated comics? And they're like, what we put out. And I'm like, that's stupid. And so I did the 2-week trial, whatever. And I was like, yeah, this seems like worth the price. And I think if you say you didn't want ComiXology, you're like, I don't care about independent comics, and I don't care about Marvel. I just want to read Batman and Superman and Titans and Flash and Green Lantern and Wonder Woman and stuff like that. Yes, it is valuable in that sense. Because I had ComiXology because I wanted to read the Valiant stuff. I remember I mentioned it before.
Yeah.
And I just kind of forgot that I had Comics Unlimited.
Which, by the way, it's a great selling point to be like, I pay for this and I don't ever use it. Like, oh, I should do the same thing. Like, so you were I just was saying that because you were mentioning how you haven't been using your DC Universe lately.
And that's because I read so many damn comics already.
Right.
And then I read the one for the week. And I'm not much into reading comics digitally in general. Like if I had a 12-inch iPad, I'd be more inclined to do it. But I'm not willing to shell out $400 for a 12-inch iPad. So
Well, you don't have to
it's like
shell out. You don't have to shell out that much.
either way, it's a catch-22. I have to buy a unit for something I'm not really already into.
Get a Kindle Fire HD when they're on sale, a 10-inch. Get them for like $150.
Okay.
You probably even get it less, maybe. I'll keep my eye out for you.
Okay.
And I'll let you know if I can run across a big deal. All right. I was just curious on that. I don't want to like hang out, DC Universe for an hour.
No, but there's like a lot of good things on there. Like, say like the Jeff Johns Teen Titans run. The first volume is available on ComiXology, but then on DC Universe, his entire run is available.
Okay. See, that's the kind of part I'm hesitant on right now because I'm like, well, I got a lot of stuff that I can read with ComiXology. Do I need to pay for the DC Universe? Like, do I want, is it worth it? And right now, I don't feel, but I haven't seen it. That's the problem is you can't go and look at it from like a window and go like, here's what you can buy. You have to like sign up and join it, and then it's like then you get to know what you're getting. And that's kind of a thing that bothers me too. Like with ComiXology, it's transparent. You can see the little ComiXology Unlimited strip on their Unlimited books. So you can look and go, oh man, if I had the service, I could read this right now.
Yeah.
But I can't do that with the DC Universe. I can't like log in and be like, here, if you were a subscriber, this is all you'd get. So I'm like, okay, I'm not going to try. And leading into the last part, and we'll move on after this, the shows. So far, the shows have been, and I haven't even seen them. They've been way underwhelming. You've done some reviews on some of the shows, which have kind of sold me on this idea. Would you concur?
Yeah, that was me having high expectations for a kids show, and they were like, "Well, we know kids don't watch it, and they're all a bunch of freaking SJW weirdos, so let's sell them that." And I was like, "Hey, what the hell is this? I don't want to hear about human trafficking and politics and watching cartoon news."
Yeah, it seems really weird to me that they're the same. They're trying to sell you under the same rooftop. They're trying to sell you like Young Justice. Hey, remember Young Justice? Kids love Young Justice, and also Titans, where we say fuck the Batman. Like,
yeah,
there's like a disconnect on like what audience they're trying to hit, and it doesn't. It feels like they almost don't know who their audience is at all. Like everyone who's a DC fan is like, who is this for? I don't. Is there anything for me?
So here, like, since we're talking Young Justice, like, Young Justice is was a comic book from the '90s that became a cartoon that was nothing like its comic book series, right? And it's like goes for like 50 something issues. And on Comics, DC Comics, whatever, Comics Universe or whatever, they have the entire Peter David Young Justice run. Which is like, that's, if you went to your comic book shop and bought the back issues, you're buying one for $3. And if you just want to read it, well, then it's a value. Especially if you can like binge something and just get it done in your 2-week trial. For some reason, Wildcats by Jim Lee is all on here too.
Nice. But again, you have to know, like, it's not transparent. So you didn't sound like you were enjoying. I know you hated Young Justice, the show. The Titans show looks terrible. You have never said anything. You've never said anything positive about any of the shows, so I always just took it like they were all bad.
Yeah, there's things that I dig about it. Like, all the women are hot. except for Starfire, but she's hot, but she's not hot all at the same time. It's really weird.
Well, I mean, if you're into that streetwalker look,
Yeah, like that's the thing. She's like a really beautiful woman, and then I was gonna say woman, she's, but she's like a really beautiful woman. But they just like don't do it. They don't. They don't. They didn't try.
yeah, no,
like
they didn't try at all. There's a guy on YouTube. I'm gonna find this for you too. I saw him years ago. Like might have been like 10 years ago. There's a guy who was doing YouTube videos, and he's like an amateur filmmaker, but he's a big Nightwing fan, and he made these like amateur Nightwing fan films, but almost like a TV show, like this episodic.
I know which ones you're talking about.
You may have seen him, okay? And I was like, wow, this is really impressive for a guy who like shot the stuff himself. And then I fast forward to today, like 10 years later, and I'm watching, and I'm like, this is a professional production, and it looks worse than this guy who did Nightwing out of his house.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is wrong? Like, yeah, I was like, oh, I was horrified. And then your reviews of Young Justice were just, but surprising. The previews I've been seeing, the new trailers for Doom Patrol have been looking interesting. And I wrote that off in the beginning. I was like, oh, that's stupid. But the new trailers, I'm like, oh, this looks like it could be good.
Yeah, and so I think if you, I think it's valuable in the sense if you are just a DC head and all you want is just DC Comics and you don't care about the other things that are on ComiXology, it's worth it because they're constantly adding stuff into it. Like every time I pop into it and look at the stuff, I'm like, oh, they added this. That's cool. They added this. That's awesome.
Okay, so that's good. Like to know, like they're constantly building.
So like I just noticed they just added the Jeff Johns Hawkman series.
Oh, that'd be interesting to read.
At least the first 14 issues.
I've become a Hawkman fan. I'm gonna get a Hawkman T-shirt.
Nice.
No one. I've never seen anyone have one. They always have the Green Lantern or Flash or Batman.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never seen a Hawkman one.
But yeah, there's a lot of good stuff on here. Like they got 60 issues of the Green Lantern Corps by Tomasi. Well, Dave Gibbons then turns into Tomasi. Or who wrote this stuff? Either way, they got big runs on here. Yeah, written by Dave Gibbons. Yeah.
Dave.
Like just here, like listen to this. Like, so from the 1960 series of Green Lantern, there's 99 comics on there. Then from the 2005-2011, there's 67 comics. From the 2011-2016, there's 21 issues. GLC from 2006, 60 comics. GLC from 2011, 15. Then a handful of Green Lantern miniseries. So just like, if you're like, the Green Lanterns from 2016, 32 comics, 36 issues of Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps. So there's like, if you were just like, I just want to read Green Lantern, there's hundreds of comics on there just in Green Lantern.
Well, sure, but it's not just about quantity, it's also like quality.
Okay, well these stories are the Tomasi,
okay.
the Jeff Johns.
That's kind of what's important. Like I'm looking for, like, because
so
originally Marvel Unlimited originally when it launched, they threw in a bunch of shit. It was like, oh, you can read all these comics, and you're like, yeah, it's all the stuff we don't want.
Like they have the green. They have pretty much like all the major characters with all their major story arcs in here. So I say yes. The answer is yes. It is worth it if you are a DC fan.
All right. Well, good to know. Good to know. We just about lost everybody during that segment. So Eric Breen, looks like you're the last one here. I I guess we'll close this out since we killed the show.
What are you talking about? There's still 7 people watching.
Just me, you, and Eric Breen.
Really?
If anyone else is here, shout out. Oh, wait, Comic Works. YouTube's lying to me. If you click on participants, it doesn't show anyone. Oh, well, this is the time we get wrapped up the show. We do the comments, talk to the audience. It's important for you guys to actually type something in there. Eric is great with bringing us facts, which are helpful, but not really. Can't really talk about. Nightwing has lasted for 153 issues.
Yep.
Talk about Alterna, says Comic Works. Well, I don't really have anything to talk about Alterna that hasn't really... They're cheap comics. Everyone should subscribe to one Alterna book at the very least.
Asian Man good.
Everyone should find one Alterna comic. Get it. It's $1.50. They come out monthly or they come out bi-monthly for $1.50. So it's 75 cents a month to support Alterna Comics, and you'll get something worth reading. I'm sure you can find one book worth your time. And if you want to get more, all the better. But if everyone got one Alterna book, the comics industry would be a much better place. Just imagine if Alterna Comics could sell like 50,000 copies of a book. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And it really annoys me. Speaking of Alterna, one thing I'll talk about Alterna Comics is my comic shop does not carry Alterna Comics.
Really?
And they carry them for me, and I need to get on them because I did not get my last pull, and they missed that, and then they're hard to find, and yeah, they don't carry them, and I'm like, you guys need to carry them, and they're a big shop. And they've got like 8 locations in San Diego. Like they can afford to carry a few issues. And they don't like to order these like small time indie books that don't have any print runs because they get stuck with extra stock. Which I understand. But it annoys me. I'm like, you guys could order a couple of copies of these Alterna books. At the very least. People are going to buy, if you ordered like just 2 or 3 copies each, and let them sell out, just to get them out so people can have an opportunity to discover them. Because that's one of the biggest problems in the comic industry right now for consumers is you go to the comic book store, yeah, you can discover Batman and Superman and all these books that are popular, but everyone knows these. What happened? Like, I remember the days where you went to the store and I'd look on the rack and be like, oh, what's this? Something new would come out. These days, those books never even hit the rack because they're too low quantity, and you have to like go to previews, months in advance, learn about this book that's coming out, go to your comic book store, pre-order it so that they'll put it in your pull list. You never see it hit the shelf. And it's really annoying. So people will be like, oh yeah, did you see this book? And I'm like, no, I never saw it come out because it never hit the rack. So Eric says I'm old. Not as old as you, buddy. But I am old. So yeah, Peter, Comics Works says Peter's a great guy. I totally concur. He's probably one of the nicest guys in the industry. What are your thoughts on Alterna?
I'm a big fan for not doing anything. So I have asked my retailer to pretty much get Alterna for a long time, and he's just like, I don't know. It's like kind of you got to jump through some hoops, and I think that's kind of why a lot of Alterna retailers don't do it. Excuse me. They have to kind of jump through hoops that they're not used to.
Right.
And oh, darn it. Sorry, I'm doing something on my computer at the same time.
Put the porn away.
So he finally decided after like the swatting thing, he was like, I should support this guy. This guy is actually cares about comics, and more retailers are starting to take notice, especially when freaking weirdos start doing weird things as they do.
Right.
And I think after the swatting, in some horrible way, this comes off wrong, I think, but I think in some way that the swatting helped business for Alterna because more people took notice at that point. And I said this just kind of sets in ground for me that I'll just buy every Alterna comic. It's really no sweat off my back. And if it means canceling a book here or two, yeah, that's fine. I don't buy any Marvel at this point, so yeah, why not? I'll buy all the Alterna books. Like you said, it's 75 cents a comic a month.
Yeah, Comics Work says they're actually a great thing for the industry. Wholeheartedly agree. I think their business model, the newsprint, I think we need to go back to newsprint.
I do too.
I remember when we went away from newsprint. If I can recall, Eric Breen will fact check me here. The first thing that they went to from newsprint was Baxter paper. See if I'm right on this. He'll know. And I remember being all excited, like, "Ooh, look at this high quality paper!" And no more. I mean, being all excited, but like it was like the book was like an extra 50 cents or something or $1, but we didn't care. We're like, "Look at this premium book," and it was like all down. We did not know what we were getting into. And fast forward to today, where comics are $4 or $5 a piece, and you're just like, "What the?" It's like go back. Let's go back. Especially seeing what Alterna's doing. I'm like, if this little podunk company, Alterna, can put out I mean, their books look good. You look at Exilium, it looks good for a hole-in-the-wall indie company with a no-name, people, creative staff, and then, it's newsprint, it's $1.50. You're like, this book is way better than it has any rights to be, and they're just showing like this is what we should expect, and we're getting ripped off. That's kind of what I think what Alterna is doing, is pulling the curtain back, exposing the wizard behind the curtain, to use a Wizard of Oz reference for all you non-boomers out there. So, yep, that's my thoughts on Alterna. I guess all you can do is keep pushing them. I know it's a bitch for some of these stores to do it, but I'm like, look, you're ordering my books for me. You might as well just throw a couple extra on the order, put them on the shelf.
Yeah, my retailer contacted Peter personally and said, "Hey, I'd like to buy pretty much everything that you have to sell. I'd like to put an Alterna section into my shop," which is cool because we have the DC section and Marvel section and everything else in between. So if Alterna gets its own little section, that's really cool, I think. Because he has a section too for like the true believers, like all the 99-cent reprint Marvel books. He has a little section for that, kind of for people who come in or kids who come in, and they're like, "I got this handful of change. What could I buy?" And he's like, "I got these over here." So,
yeah,
which is good because that's like really what comics need really for the younger audience. Like, I flipped through Feast and Famine. I have it on my shelf. I've been meaning to read it, but it looks like if you were like a 14-year-old kid and you had like a handful of change, and you were like, "This looks kind of cool. Like, it looks kind of like you like shows like Black Mirror or something,
Mm-hmm.
I think it'd be right up their alley.
Yeah, for sure. Eric says the only argument against newsprint is that the books from the 60s and 70s can be tough to read as the paper ages, as well as the reader, which it's a fair point, but also a fair point, Eric, is that you're talking about books that are 60 years old. Like, if you tell me, hey, this book will be hard to read 60 years from now, oh, I'll be dead from 60 years from now.
Yeah, like I mean, well,
Um,
I collect, I collect a lot of back issues and stuff, and there's times like especially in even 80s books, so books from like 30, 40 years ago, where the the holes in letters like A's and R's and P's, they start to like blend into each other.
yeah, yeah. No, I know what you're saying.
Even
The thing,
S
too, you got
had
to
a
remember is, though, their printing process back then wasn't as
Mhm.
good. So, there's things that today, not only was the printing process not good, the books from the 60s and 70s weren't really kept well. So you find a book from the 60s, uh, they weren't stored in Mylar bags, with acid free, a lot of times there were other aspects to age the book. And another thing to consider, I think is important, but is that nowadays we have all this, everything's digital. So make your books newsprint, like you don't have to worry about reading them. Like in 40 years from now, I mean, we're gonna have like hologram. I can't even imagine how we're gonna be able to digest books. Like, uh, you know, you mentioned like, oh, you don't want to spend $1,000 on a 12-inch iPad or whatever, but 40 years from now, a device like that's gonna be nothing. Like
Mhm.
everyone's gonna have handfuls of these things. So just we're gonna be throwing them away. It's like I remember when VCRs used to be $1,000, right? And now it's like, I remember towards the end of their life, you could find them for like $20.
I was so happy when I found a VCR on my way to work. I was like, and there's two of them, and I got to pick from the garbage that someone like put a box outside, and there was like two VCRs and a stack of VHS, and I was like, this is awesome. It's like I was like, and I pulled out like a good handful of like clamshell Disney films, and I was like, I'm keeping these.
Nice. Oh yeah, Disney films too, especially.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
um,
They go for $1,000 on eBay, and no one buys.
oh yeah. So I don't know. I'm cool with that. I'm all cool. I want comics to age. I don't want comics to like stay pristine and perfect forever. I don't know about you, Bats. But when I got into comics a long time ago, like the idea that these comics deteriorated and being able to store them and try to like fight that process to have the best quality comic you could define, like for collectability's sake, was really neat. Whereas today, in order for a comic book to be valuable, you need like a 9.8 grading, and it's stored in an archival plastic whatever, thing. Like these books have to be like flawless. They never touched by human hands. It's like that's no fun. Like most of the books on the shelf are like, 9.0. I see people in the store. You probably see this too, maybe since you work in a shop occasionally. Like where people like are like sifting through to try to find like the perfect quality book. Do you have those guys in your shops?
I want to walk up to them and slap it out of their hand. I was just like, I know it sounds so mean, but it's like, stop it. Like, stop doing that. Like, stop pulling out every comic because our shop, uh, the retailer, he bags and boards every book. He has his wife come in and his dad, so they all come in Tuesday morning, and his dad is like a 70-year-old man, and he puts an entire, the entire inventory of DC. He gets really mad if anyone else does DC. I was doing DC one time, and he came in and was like, oh, well, I'm not needed, and he left.
Wow.
You know, so like that's his thing. That's the thing he does every Tuesday. And like, you know, he's an old man who doesn't like, he knows comics are valuable because his kid owns a store, but you know, he's an old man who doesn't have like, he's not, he doesn't put on gloves. You know, he's like, he just comes in and he does his thing and he puts them in the book. And I've watched him do it, and he has a little bit of a, you know, bit of roughness to him. He's, you know, and I'm just like, it doesn't bother me none. But I, you know, when I see those guys who are putting it up to the light and turning it at every angle, and like,
There's money to be made in it, though. Like I don't fault them, and I understand why it irritates you, but I think collectability is a very important aspect of comics. I think it's something that the industry has forgotten, and they think, oh, comics should just be read. Like, no, not for $4 a piece. The reason I'll spend $4 on a comic is because that comic will maintain its $4 value, and maybe if I'm lucky, might go up to 10. You know, like, it's the reason, like, when I used to play collectible card games, I played Magic the Gathering or whatever. Like, I spent a ridiculous amount of money on these cards, but they actually had intrinsic value. And when Magic was like, "Oh, we're gonna push this digital scene," I was like, "F that! You want me to pay the same price for these cards and they're just digital? They're nothing. I can't cash out." That's the problem with comics. Like, okay, I'm gonna pay $3.99 for a comic that's digital, so it has no value. Like, once I buy it, it's like that. You don't understand that. Like, collectors are the backbone of the comic industry, especially today's industry where everything's so expensive. These whales support us, and it's great if you're just a person who wants to read and you don't care. You know, like, you know, our buddy Robert Willing, you know, like, you saw his collection. He doesn't even bag and board his stuff. He just like stuffs it in a box, and I'm just like horrified. It's fine.
I'm a bit of both at the same time.
And that's totally fine. But I appreciate my problem is, when I was a collector, when I was a speculator, my early days being in the hobby, a near mint book, like, that was the best. Like, that's all you needed. Mint, near mint. That was like the top grade. Like, no one ever like graded books. It was just mint, near mint. And as long as it fell in that category, it sold at the top price. But now that's not good enough because comics aren't, they're worth dog shit. So now we have to find something like that separates, you know, all these comics, which are all in pristine condition all the time because they have paper that never degrades. You know,
they try to use variants as like, this is the, you know, the virgin variant or the Jim Lee 1 in 1 million. And
well, yeah, that's to add scarcity. And that's another thing that they do for sure. But if you made comics deteriorate and made it like an effort to keep them in good condition. In fact, it's funny, Eric said something about, like, I want today's Marvel comics to biodegrade. He gave me an interesting idea that I don't know if I actually want this to happen, but I think it's kind of funny. What if comic companies came up with a way to, like, do like 1 in 20 comics, like 1 in 20 comics they treated with, like, you know, a special treatment that prevented them from degrading, and the other 19, like, after 20 years just like faded and fell apart and stuff, and you wouldn't know if your book was one of these books until like such time. And like, so in the beginning it's like, oh look, it's X-Men #1, Jim Lee, like there's 8 million of them. But in 20 years, there's only 5% still in existence. You're just like, oh. And then they become all collectible. And if you were one of the ones that got one, you know, just by luck of the draw, not because, you know, you speculated, you just, oh, you know, I think that'd be kind of funny. But I don't know if they would game that. Might be bad. Eric says I bag and board everything, but I don't give two shits about condition. I just like to bag and board.
Yeah, that's where I'm the same way. It's like I ripped up Heroes in Crisis #1 into 4 pieces and then put it in a bag and board.
Oh, you hurt my heart.
Why?
Well,
Because I ripped up a piece of crap?
no, because you ripped up an excellent book.
Yeah, that's attached to 5 other pieces of crap.
Hey, we didn't know that. No, they're not 5 pieces. 6 is a piece of crap. I will give. Yeah, 6 is.
The only part that I like about that book is the SJW outrage and the air quotes sexualization of Batgirl, and that's because what's his face draws.
I think that was 5.
Yeah, 5 is the best issue because what's his name knows how to draw beautiful women in tights.
Oh, I got an SJW guy got all triggered on my channel for my review of 6. And you know me, like I've been the kind of the nice guy about Heroes in Crisis, and he got triggered on me, and he was trying to talk about how beautiful the scene was with Narc on top of his mammoth looking up at the stars, reciting poetry. I was like, that was so stupid. Oh, God, that was a terrible book.
If I was like, hey, Ash, there's this really cool caveman who's part of the Teen Titans. Like, he has some really good, like, moments. He's kind of like the Hulk, but he's retarded. He's a member of the Teen Titans. So
it's like the Hulk, but he's retarded.
Yeah,
like,
but he has these...
He's not even the intelligence level of the Hulk.
Yeah, he has these funny moments with like these hipster kids who hang out, together and fight crime, and you're like, that sounds kind of cool. And then you're like, oh, I heard about this Narc character. I heard he was funny and he was interesting. When you put him up against, put him in the same room with Robin and Donna Troy and Kid Flash, and then you're like, you see him like laying naked on a mammoth, like reciting poetry. You're like, what the hell is Bats talking about? Like, I know who Narc is, and I'm like,
I don't know who Narc is, and everything you're saying about him just makes him even dumber to me. And the fact that Tom King took that dumb character and then said, I'm going to find new ways to make him dumb, as if having a caveman somehow come to the future, and because he's a caveman makes him superhero quality. Like, just the whole concept of Narc screams at me of like, just I can't even think, just retarded. Like, that's stupid. So because he's a caveman, and because I guess they live a violent life, that makes them... is that how we view our society? That we're so soft that a caveman would be like superhuman to us? Like, what?
He's interesting in the sense, like, when you put him with like Robin, like when you have old school Titans and then there's a caveman there.
That's dumb. That's stupid.
It's wonky and it's goofy and it's interesting if you're trying to read like 60s Brave and the Bold stories.
This is why I could never read DC before it was stuff like this.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Like me, where I like to go back and I look at the zaniness and dumbness of old comics of DC. Like,
if you want to create
this is why Marvel...
if you want to create a specifically zany book, that's cool. Like, I'm down with that. Like, I think the idea of like Batman 66 meets Archie is fucking cool as shit. Because it's like intentionally like, hey, we're just trying to be out there and crazy, and it's not part of our normal continuity, and it's just for people that want a quirky comic. Like, I love, Peter Porker, the Spectacular Spider-Ham. I think it's fantastic. Like, do stuff like that. But when you put it in, you insert it in normal continuity, and you're like, hey, like that, I nope out. I just like, what are you doing? Oh well.
No,
oh
yeah,
well.
Absolutely.
Oh well.
Absolutely. Like, I've enjoyed Narc on the thing of, hey, I'm so deep in DC, I need absolute ridiculousness nonsense to get something new and interesting. You know what I'm saying? Like, if like you're like a Marvel guy and you're now getting interested in DC, things like 60s Brave and the Bold stories with the freaking caveman is just no, don't do that.
Yeah. Just give me Captain Caveman if you're gonna do something like that. Like, oh, I, yeah, that Tom King. I still defend that first issue of Heroes in Crisis. I know you don't agree. Is a fantastic, well written book, and I think we have another Mr. Miracle on our hands. Where that book started off, fantastic. And I remember Zach was like raving. He was like, "This is the next Watchmen." It's all, and then it just completely fell apart in the second half.
I was even there. I was like,
I feel like I'm watching Heroes in. I feel like I was the same. I feel like I was like when I rated Heroes in Crisis #1. I feel like I was in that same shoes like Zach was, where I was like, "This is amazing." I even said that's the best comic of the year. That #1 issue was fantastic, and it has just been downhill. And I'm like, what is going on? This Tom King just can't finish something.
When Mr. Miracle is coming out, it was the same time as White Knight was coming out.
Those two books got me into comics.
And I was like, wow, this is like Dark Knight and Watchmen happening again.
Yeah, that got me into comics. Our boy Zach and those two books, I was like, this is unbelievable. Like, his passion has got me enthused. I read the first issue of each of those series, and I was like, oh my god, it's amazing. I gotta get back into comics. Fortunately, White Knight was awesome.
Yeah, I think it kind of, I wouldn't say it like it fell short, but the ending wasn't what I was expecting.
Yeah, I mean, it's not Frank Miller.
It wasn't
I had to slip that in.
It wasn't as exciting as the first half. The second half was like, it was special effects. What do they call it? Special effects extravaganza, but it's like, it's a comic, so it's like, it doesn't matter,
Right.
Like if it was like a movie and you're like, oh, look at all these cool car chase scenes at the end.
I think the word you're looking for is spectacle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all glitz and no glam. Style without substance. There's lots of different ways, I guess, to put it. I am ecstatic about Sean Murphy. I think this guy is the most exciting thing in comics for me since probably Jim Lee back in the 90s. Like, I'm like, oh my god. I've gone out and like tried to grab everything I can that he's done. I even got his first trade paperback.
Is it Jesus one?
No, his first one. Off-roading, I think it's called.
Okay.
It's only available as a graphic novel. It wasn't a comic.
Gotcha.
And I've seen it go up for like $80 on Amazon because it's not in print, and it's Sean Murphy, and my shop had one for like cover price, and I was like, oh, I'll put this in my thing. I'll be buying this later. So I picked it up for like $17, and I was like, I don't care. Like, I don't even care if it's shit. Like, this guy is hot fucking shit, and I like his stuff, and I like having it in my collection. And so far, I found most of his stuff. I don't think I have. He did this weird motorcycle book that I don't. It's like Road Cafe or something.
Have you got Punk Rock Jesus?
Yeah, I haven't read it though.
I'm afraid to read that one.
Yeah, but I'm in the same boat as you. I'm like, But the one I really as hot as I am on this guy, it's funny I haven't read his shit because I'm like behind. I'm really excited. I discovered, I didn't know this, he did a freaking book with Mark Miller, who's one of my favorite
Really?
writers.
Pronounced Malar.
No, it's Miller actually.
Malar.
I know I say Millar usually. It's a no-win situation. When you say Millar, then you always have people go, it's Miller. But when you say Miller, there's too many other people named Miller, so it separates him. But he should just formally change his name to Millar. But yes, that same guy. And Sean Murphy did a book with him, and I was like, holy shit. So yeah.
Which book is that?
Something knots, cosmonauts, something knots.
Okay, yeah. Oh, he did do that, huh?
Yeah.
I have to check that out. We have a whole like Malar section at the shop, and like the back issues. So instead of putting like Kingsman and Kick-Ass and Nemesis like all throughout the store, it's just like all the things by Mark Millar is right here.
Eric says Narc was the original Teen Titans series from the 60s. I think he's posted that a couple times. Yeah, Bob Haney, nicknamed Zany Haney. This is all stuff that is before my time and didn't know about for sure. Are you excited for White Knight 2?
Yes, I am actually really excited. That shot of Azrael he's posted where he's got like a AR-15 and like pulling out a sword. I was like, this looks epic.
Yes. We need more Azrael in DC in general.
He's in Justice League Odyssey.
Yeah, I mean, like, sure. I mean, like, I want an Azrael book. I want that character.
There hasn't been one since the Denny O'Neil stuff.
Yeah, this is a character who I thought never got the justice he deserved. I think this is a character like Iron Fist, like I was saying, like it needs a treatment. Like just develop the shit out of this guy. Like he looks cool as fuck. He's got a cool name. He got to be Batman for a while. Mm-hmm. Like you've got this great history behind this character that you made, and you just haven't done anything with him. Maybe Sean Murphy will change that.
Yeah, maybe. I liked what he did with Harley a lot in White Knight, where he changed Harley and like was like, "There's two Harleys." I was like, they need to make that like canon.
Yeah, it'll be only a matter of time before DC decides to pull that in. It's like, hey, it's popular. People. I really wish I could see John. One regret about Sean Murphy is that he never got to do like a regular run. You know, like Jim Lee did his Punisher, got noticed, got his X-Men run, became huge, and then the rest of the story we know. Mm-hmm. But Sean Murphy, he never did a regular book. He did a couple indie books. Then he got noticed by Scott Snyder. They did a book together. You know, and then Snyder like pushed him into DC, and DC greenlighted him to do a Batman miniseries, and now he's a superstar. And it's like never had his own on. Like, how cool would it have been to have like a couple year run of a Sean Murphy like Batman book? Just straight up continuity Batman. Like, oh, this would be sick.
Yeah, there's like he jumps in, like he does like filler issues on Batman. It's weird.
I've never seen it. I gotta hunt these down. I've not been aware that he's done. I've seen him do covers.
He did. Let's see. I know it's called. He did. You weren't back in the comics, but during the New 52, there was a Detective Comics number 27, right? And so they made a big stink out of it. And they're like,
Mm-hmm.
they made it like this special square bound big issue.
Yeah, you can get it for free on ComiXology, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so there's a story called like number 27, which is the. Did you read the Scott Snyder run on Batman? The whole thing?
Not the whole thing, no.
Okay, so there's this Batman cloning machine that's introduced there. So he
Okay.
does like these Snyder stories that are like connected to Snyder's run, but they're like filler bits, like yeah, yeah, it's good. Like there's good stuff of of him, but it's like there's not enough yeah, there's no run. There's not a run.
Well, I'm gonna go hunt down single issue. I've looked. I was like, I wasn't aware that there were single issues of stuff that he's done. So I know he has a chase cover for Dark Knight 3. He did, I think, issue 3. Did a chase variant that I'd like to hunt down because I like.
Looks like he did a John Constantine book in 2010.
I'll have to look. Eric Breen. Well, we gotta wrap this up. I'm gonna do some of these comments here. First, Tahalim says, if Bendis did Man of Steel as an Elseworlds, I'd appreciate his writing more. Tahalim, dude, all due respect, Man of Steel sucks because it sucks. It's not because he changed anything. He had Supergirl save the day in a Superman book.
It was called Man of Steel.
Man of Steel, Superman got cucked, and Supergirl had to save the day. And he did it with Deus Ex Machina. Like, it wasn't even a thought out plot. It was literally like, oh, Superman's getting his ass kicked. Good thing Supergirl just shows up, and good thing she had the whatever magic gun, the Phantom Ray thing in her ass that she was able to pull out. Like, what? It's so stupid. Stupid. 6-year-old could have wrote that story. Yeah. Eric Breen says Jim Lee did X-Men, got huge, and has been disappointing fans ever since. No, man.
He speaks the truth.
No, I fucking love his Wildcat shit. Shame on you. I that's my biggest thing. I wish DC would bring back. I want Wildcats. I don't even need Jim to draw it or anything. I know dude's running DC. Like, I don't expect him. But, Brett Booth is looking for a job. He'd be a perfect person to draw Wildcats. And maybe Jim Lee could, like, co-plot. Like, just contribute some story ideas and then have another writer write the scripts. Maybe. I don't know. I don't even need him to write. Just give me old school Wildcats. I want that. I love me some Jim Lee. His style, we've talked about this, Bats. I don't think his style fits the DC world very well, but be that as it may. Speaking of Elseworlds, did anyone see Robert's Generations review today? I haven't.
I did not see it, no.
Man of Steel is so bad, why he should be writing... Man of Steel is so bad, why he should be writing Elseworlds. Well, I disagree. I think Elseworlds should be reserved for good writing. Like... Right? I mean, isn't Elseworlds known for? It's like a lot of great books were Elseworlds books.
So there's a Sean Gordon Murphy Batman book. Oh, darn it! It's compiled of 2 stories. I used to have this. I forgot I had this. It's a book by Bruce Jones, Jesus Sayas, and Jimmy Palmiotti. It's called Batman Year One Two-Face and Scarecrow,
Huh.
and it's 2 story arcs from like 2 different Batman stories, and Sean Gordon Murphy did an issue or so in there.
Well, I'm gonna have to go hunt down some of these things because like I said, I did a preliminary kind of look before, and I saw that he did some covers, but not any actual issues. But I didn't look that hard. Um, so
Yeah, see if you can get your hands on a Detective 27 at your shop. Do they have back issues there?
oh yeah,
Yeah, go
yeah.
see if you can find
My
them.
shop is huge.
Nice.
They just, like I said, they just tend not to order the rare indie stuff, but and they've got multiple locations, which is good. And 3 of them are within reasonable distance of me.
And they can like call each other if one has like.
Yeah, so it's cool. Like, so it's the one that I go to is like their warehouse store. So it's like all beat up and old, like this old rundown building, but it's big. And that's kind of where they store. It's like their big warehouse, and I go there, but it's like literally down the street from their other store, which is in a mall. So they're like really close. So I have 2 stores essentially like within spitting distance of each other, and then a couple miles in the other direction, there's another mall that has another one of their stores. So the 2 mall stores back issues aren't massive, but yeah, like they can call each other and do stuff. And back issues often anyway are like you get online is it made it so much easier to find back issues than like the old days.
Yeah, it's almost not fun anymore. Like, oh, I could just click this box and this box, and then they'll show up to my house in
I gotta
5 to
tell
10
you,
business.
it was super super fun finding issues 1 through 28 of Birthright for $15 online.
Oh, well, yeah, but I'm saying like I used to enjoy the hunt and like
That was a hunt. Like, I mean, it wasn't the same, but
no, but you know what I'm saying. I'm like you're just like cutting me off. Like
I
what I'm
apologize.
saying
I'm
is
not
like
trying to.
I liked going to a new store or a new comic convention and flipping through boxes in hopes to find things that I'm missing. Going just online is just like you can buy anything online. I could have toilet paper sent to my house.
Well, it's true.
So
I
it's like
wasn't trying to undermine your opinion. What I was trying to do is
make it yeah, but like
bring a
it,
different
what I,
perspective because I genuinely side with what you're saying, but I have come to a new appreciation of online buying because when you're buying a single comic, yes, I can go and look for like Detective Comics 27 or whatever. I go to I'm going to find it, right? It's going to be there. But when you talk about buying runs of something, now that's different, right? Like I want, 1 through 28 of this book. Well, that's way different. Like there was one person selling these books and I got it. And to me, like that was like the gold mine thing. I got super lucky and it was fun. I can't replicate that. So
sure,
yes, I agree with you. When you're looking for that one book and what you're describing, it's totally cool, and online kind of ruins that. But when you're looking for maybe a collection, online has some of that same mystique, is what I'm trying to say.
sure. Like finding Teen Titans #2 in the shop while I was organizing it is a book that I was looking for since I was like 13, and I got it last year.
Yeah, that would probably have been way awesome. Where you're like, oh my god.
Like I was just flipping through a box, and when you flip through stuff, you kind of just your brain's just like on autopilot, and you
Mm-hmm.
skip. You're like whoa 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 whoa, whoa, and you go back,
Mm-hmm.
and then you pull it out, and it's like the Holy Grail. It
Yeah.
makes that angel sound in your head.
Not yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Here's a not so awesome story. So I was at the comic book store a couple days ago, one of the mall locations, because I thought I was going to see Captain Marvel. It was Saturday, and I was like, you know what? I was talking to my buddy because the theater was like in the comic book store right next to each other. I was like, well, before we leave, let me just swing by this comic book store because there's one issue. So that lot that I bought at Birthright was missing issue number 11. So it was 1 through 28 minus 11. So I was like, that's the only hole. It's the only comic I'm missing from the Birthright run. So let me go and see if they have it, because my store didn't have it. And I was like, wow, I wonder if this issue 11 is hard to find or something. So I was like going through and I was like, oh, hey, they got a copy of Birthright 11. Sweet. Oh, and look at that. It's only 25 cents above cover price. Boom. So I picked it up and I was like, great. So I was like, oh, while I'm here, that's right, I'm missing Nightwing number 50, which is the start of the arc of when I got into Nightwing. And my store only has the variant covers for Nightwing 50, which they're charging $10 a piece for. And I'm like, ugh. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll just get the non-variant because I don't want to pay $10 even though I want. So I was flipping through and I was like, oh, sick. The variant for Nightwing 50, and it's only 25 cents above cover price. And I had a little, not as cool as your story, obviously, about getting Teen Titans 2, but a little bit of that in a small, like, cool, and I go up and ring into the cash register, and I ring them all out, and I'm like, talk to the guy, and it's friendly, like, oh, cool, and we're walking, go back to the car, and we're driving home, and I'm like, looking at the books, and I'm like, oh, wait, this isn't Nightwing 50, this is Nightwing 51. I already have this book. Wah, wah.
That's So I have a checklist too where I did this recently too. Like occasionally I'll go to mycomicbookshop.com and I'll be like, okay, I'm missing this issue, and I'll go click them all off and I'll order them. And then they show up like 5 to 10 business days later. Well, for some reason, I used my checklist, and then once I hit my order thing, I didn't check them all off. And so then, like a couple of months later, I was like, oh, I'm missing this issue, and this issue. Okay. And I spent like $30.
Oh, no.
And I did it twice.
Oh!
So I have like multiple stacks of comics in my room. I got my reading stack, and I gotta go put these away in the boxes. And so I'm like, start to organize this, put away in the box stack. Like, why do I have 2 issues of this? Wait. And I have like a stack of like 8 Batman books, duplicates. So there's 16.
Oh, man.
And I spent $30 twice. So I spent $60.
Oh.
In like, over like a 3 to 4 month period where, I must have done it like while I was watching a movie or something, or I was like maybe on the phone with like a buddy of mine and just like sidetracked and just like forgot that I did it.
Well,
so I was like, why the hell?
I don't feel quite so bad anymore. My frustration though is of course that of all the books, like it had to be Nightwing is the one that I have extra copies of. It couldn't be like a book that I really love, like I can't even say it, Hawkman. Like, oh
yeah,
I have.
I would normally say go give it to a kid, but that book sucks. Do that.
Oh.
Like I have a box of like books that I just don't want, and like every Halloween comes around, I'm like, I'm gonna flick the light on and like the trick or treaters, I'm gonna be the guy who gives out comics, and I'm like, I don't want to give them these SJW Marvel books.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna leave my light off and pretend I'm not home.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. Like the Marvel, it's like really killing me. People tell me like, well, if you don't like the books, you could give them to kids and stuff. I'm like, no, I don't want kids to read these books. I want people to love the hobby. Like, I want people to, like, experience what I experienced. I don't want them to read this bullshit that's in these books. Number one, I don't want you indoctrinating children in your far left ideology, you know, like gender politics and your nonsense. Like, kids need to just be kids and not worry about that until they're old enough to know better. Then they can make up their own minds. And second, it's garbage. Like, why do you go see like a shitty movie and then come out and go like, well, I hated it, but I'm gonna go recommend it to some people. Like, they should go see it. I just,
You know, like, I like really wanted to see Robin Hood. Like, it was like, and I was like really excited for Robin Hood, and like this looks badass.
So you were the one
like,
guy.
And then it just like, it started off good, and it took a lot of like artistic choices that I thought were interesting, and then it just turns into a far left extremist propaganda film, and I'm like, oh. And then I just like told everyone how I hated it.
Yeah. Yeah. Why do they have
You know,
to do
like
that?
they're like, did you like it? I'm like, I started to like it, and then as soon as I started liking it, it pretty much told me to go F myself.
Yeah.
They're like, well, that's just your political opinion. I was like, yeah, but like, it's so noticeable. Even like if you were far left extremist, you're like, yeah, it started off terrible, then it got really good. You know, it's like, well, for me, it's the other way around.
Well, here's the thing too. Like, it's not even the certain type of political ideology that's the problem. It's the proselytizing. Like, I don't want to see a movie that tells me we need to build a wall. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I don't want to see the far right stuff like either. Like, I just want to see the movie, right? I want to see whatever's happening. Just let it. I don't want your politics either side. Like, if it's important to your story, you know, like you're telling a story about these space rebels who are fighting against fascist oppression, and it's important for the story and those characters, that's fine. You're not telling me. But as soon as you stop telling your story and you start preaching to the audience, that's where I nope out. I'm just like, can't stand this shit.
Yeah, like the artistic choices, it's like they go in the beginning, like Robin gets drafted into a war with the Middle East. And so they kind of had this like this play on like the modern Middle East,
Right.
right? The West versus the East thing. So it's like these Brits with bows and arrows are going in and shooting dudes with turbans, and I'm like, artistically, I see what you're doing here, and it's interesting, but like the action was really good. Like the way they fired the arrows hella fast and the camera angles, and just like the intensity of like the war film, but with bows and arrows instead of guns. It was cool.
Yeah. And that's another thing. It really stands out that really drives me bonkers. Is not only when you interject your politics into a movie, but then you do it in a movie that those politics have no place in. Like, modern issues with the Middle East don't belong in a movie set in like the 11th century. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
Like, oh, this movie is 1,000 years ago, but all the women are liberated. They don't need the patriarchy. Like, no, that's not how it was. It's like
they made it work.
That's
until they didn't make it work.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
I can't stand that. It's like, I'm sorry that you think like this is just that's how it was. Like, and when movies or TVs or books or whatever And we've talked about this before. Like, you're not really big into fantasy. I'm like, I really love fantasy. So when I like read books, a lot of fantasy, and most modern fantasy, it's set in like a medieval primitive time, like a Tolkien-esque setting. But Western authors, especially American writers, write the societies like it's modern day, all liberated and, feminist equality. I'm like, that's not that's not how it is.
Right.
All right, Eric Breen is telling us it's time to end the show.
Thanks, Eric. I appreciate you.
Well, you could tell us time to end the show too, Bats.
No. That's what Eric Braid's for.
Oh, Eric Breen. Eric Breen is the bell toller. Okay. We're ending the stream here, but Talim says get Bats to watch the Willow movie. Have you ever seen Willow?
Oh, come on, man. Have I ever seen Willow?
I don't know. It's a fair question.
I'm a child of the 80s.
All right, cool. Well, you didn't like fantasy, so that's a fair question.
I like Val Kilmer.
Okay. Val Kilmer is cool.
Yeah, he's the best Batman.
No. Thank you, Eric Breen, for sticking with us. Thank you for being the bell toller to signal that our show is running long. And I don't even know if he's here listening. He might have just noped out before who knows. Tahalim, thanks for joining us. Comic Quirks, thanks for joining us. Melissa, I don't know if you're still here. Anyone else that's in the chat that's lurking and not talking, thank you for watching our show. If you're listening to this after the fact and you made it this far, holy hell, you have the patience of the saints. you are not a child of you're not, I don't even know what I'm saying. Now. It's too late.
You're Generation X.
you do not have ADD. We're gonna go ahead and end this. I'm gonna hop over on Discord. Anyone? Oh, look at Tahalim's promoting his Discord. Way to go, Tahalim, jacking the channel. If you do not have Discord, you guys should all get it. We're going to be doing after show stuff there occasionally, and we can all chat live, voice if you want, or text. You don't have to. Let me give you guys the link here as soon as Discord pulls up. It takes forever. Quirks, you should totally get on Discord with us because you're fun to talk to. And Tahalim has his own server. I've talked to him on his server, and he's come over to mine. And it figures when you're live on air and you're trying to get the information is when it stutters and takes forever. Okay, here we go. All right, so I posted the link in the chat, and you can get to Discord. Come on over there. Bats, you up for talking a few minutes? Or
Yeah.
All right, so we'll go over there, and anyone that wants to come over, we'll see you there. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week. It should be normal time, Sundays at 10 p.m., now that hopefully all technical difficulties are over. Same Bats time.
Same Ash channel.
All right, thanks for watching all.
Peace.